Hello, sorry. Okay, you guys, Bob, microphone? Mark, microphone? I guess that's green down there. Okay, I'm going to call the meeting to order. This is the Genoa Township Board of Zoning Appeals. It is June 25th, 2024, and it is 7:02 p.m. And we are at the Genoa Township Hall, 5111 South Old 3C Highway in Westerville, 43082. We have 5 cases on the agenda tonight. BZA case 2024-01, BZA case 2024-04, BZA case 2024-07, BZA case 2024-08, and BZA case 2024-09. Staff present is Susan Dorch, our Deputy Zoning Inspector, Paul Benson, Deputy Zoning Inspector, and Counsel Peter Griggs. And I will call the roll. Ms. Yu.
Here.
Mr. Phillips.
Here.
Mr. Hanson.
Here.
Mr. DeRose.
Here.
Mr. Christian is in the back, and Mr. Campanella.
Here.
And welcome, Mr. Campanella. Okay, I'm going to read this into the record, and please take notice of it. Take notice of the following. As is the adopted policy of the Board of Zoning Appeals, all applicants will be granted an opportunity to make their formal presentation. The audience will then be granted an opportunity to comment, followed by questions from the board. And comment means that they need to be directed to the board, not to the applicant. It's not an opportunity for a question and answer session. This policy was adopted by the Board of Zoning Appeals to provide for the orderly discussion of business scheduled for consideration. The chairperson, me, may limit repetitive debate. This evening, I will allow 3 minutes per person to speak. And if it becomes repetitive, then we may have to limit that. We have 5 cases, which is unusual for this board. We're going to try and get through them as judiciously as possible and as expediently as possible, but it's going to be a while. So please know that. First item on the agenda is review of the meeting minutes presented by the Genoa Township Development and Zoning Department for the hearings held on May 28th, 2024. I'll give you a moment to look over those minutes, and then I will entertain a motion to approve. Okay, good. Okay. I'll entertain a motion at this
Move
time.
to approve as presented.
Mr. Phillips, second. Okay. All in favor of approval of the minutes from May 28th, 2024, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Abstain.
Mr. DeRose abstains. Okay. The next item on the agenda is an area variance. Okay, an area variance, which this is the second reading of this variance. Actually, I think it's the third. Berkeley Ellis, Cardinal Self-Storage, Westerville LLC, on behalf of Robert L. Taylor and Terry Dursing Taylor, co-trustee, requesting approval of a variance to Section 1505.05 of the Genoa Township zoning resolution to allow the maximum gross floor area of a commonly controlled business operation to exceed the maximum allowed 65,000 square feet of gross floor area within one or more buildings on parcel number 317-34201-015 and parcel 317-34201-016-000, known as 6201 Maxtown Road, Westerville, 43082, which is currently zoned light industrial, and this has been continued from April 23rd.
We have to do Robert and Annette Scott.
That's okay.
Wait,
That's okay.
Okay, then all right, then I'm out.
oh, well, it's the first one that I've got here.
That's the minutes. In your hand.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
The
oh,
one on
yeah,
where it
okay,
was
right, I forgot about
first,
that
but
one.
that's fine. You
Yeah,
can
we got
just
some
do it.
high-priced legal help here, so let's go through. Yeah, I hear the clock ticking over there.
Fine. And then for the record, the Teresa recused herself and Mr.
Yes,
Christian.
Ms. Yu has recused herself because she is an adjacent property owner to the subject property under consideration. Mr. Christian will be joining in her place. And we have the following exhibits, A through D, the legal notice, the sign-in sheet, the application, and the staff report dated May 24th, 2024, which I believe has been revised since the last meeting. No, it has not. Okay.
The only thing we did was the comparison chart, because all the history and all, everything's
Oh,
stayed
right,
the
okay.
same.
I saw the comparison chart and, yes. And does staff have any?
That's
have-
on the exhibit list. I think
Right.
exhibit
Oh,
F.
okay. Do you have any further comments, staff, regarding this application?
I really don't. I was just gonna suggest first, though, Mr. Delro, he was not at the last hearing, so just for the record, I
Oh,
believe
Mr.
he's-
DeRose, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, for the record, I was at the first meeting, then I was sent the video of the second meeting, which I reviewed prior to tonight's meeting.
And we just wanted to make sure that that was okay with Mr.
It is. I
Okay.
appreciate your and everyone's time. this
Sure.
evening.
Thanks, Mr. Miller. Okay, Mr. Miller, did you want to go ahead and represent or tell us what changes you've made?
Yes, briefly. Hopefully, I went a little low-tech tonight, so hopefully you have in front of
Appreciate
you the revised plan. I'm not going to go back over the factors for variance. Feel as though that's been covered
Sure.
pretty thoroughly, as well as the uniqueness of this property. However, I want to thank the board because last month I felt as though you went into private deliberations, came back out with some very clear direction to my client. Hopefully you'll agree that we've taken that direction. So if you look at the drawing, first the site plan, I'll talk about landscaping in a minute, but simply the site plan dated 6/12/24. Here, in response to the neighbors to the east, you will see parking canopy A and parking canopy C are moved to that eastern border of the property, presenting kind of a natural wall supplemented by 8-foot-tall opaque fence to present what we think is a good screening barrier to the residences to the east. I also heard loud and clear, don't come back looking for any other variances, and so we maintained the 100-foot setback from the property line, that being the 75-foot green area as well as the 25-foot building setback. Even though those canopies are one-sided, we'll maintain that 25-foot setback for a
They're
total.
one-sided to the neighbors?
Facing the west, away from the neighbors, exactly. And so we feel as though this was respectful both of the board's direction as well as the neighbors'
I'm going to say, I
interests.
remember that there was a neighbor here last month, and he had some concerns, and I assume you've addressed those concerns.
We've had very good dialogue since the last meeting, both myself and my client's representative directly, Berkeley Ellis, who could not be here this evening.
Okay.
And I think we'll hear from Mr. Eckert,
Okay.
who does live directly adjacent to the site in a moment.
Okay.
Then for the landscape plan, I would submit to you here, again, trying to be a good neighbor. Cardinal has gone a little bit above and beyond what would otherwise be required. I think Susan would tell you, yes, they have to have the green space, the 75-foot area. They have to have an opaque fence of some kind or a wall to create the barrier for the property. But you'll see we've also proposed to plant all along those parking canopies some combination of arborvitae and spruces. And so I think we'll hear later that that's met with the neighbors' satisfaction, for which we're grateful. The only other thing I would explain, in addition to answering any questions the members of the board have, Susan did distribute this helpful table contrasting differences. If you're wondering, I understand this is a large site with a lot of square footage. And when you see that now there are 3 parking canopies in the revised plans versus 2 previously, that anyway was not a square footage grab. What I alluded to a moment ago was the prior plan had canopies A and B, which were 2-sided. In other words, you could park on both sides.
Right.
When you back them up and want to provide a natural barrier to the neighbors, they are now 1-sided. It is true that parking canopy, that a 3rd building was added. Parking canopies A and C are the ones in the revised plan that have the solid wall facing the neighbors to the east. And there is a parking canopy B. But if you're wondering, okay, Miller, you added an extra parking canopy building, the difference is approximately 3,000 square feet of additional parking. This is not monumental. In other words, last month you saw a plan that had buildings A, parking canopies A and B for a total of 65,400 square feet. Now there's A, B, and C totaling 68,775 square feet. So we think this is still kind of true to the original plan, hopefully addresses the neighbors and the board's concerns and allows us to still maintain approximately the amount of parking we were seeking in the original plan. So that's the difference. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
And your impervious surface
Still.
coverage went down slightly?
Correct,
And
correct.
then, because the parking, the open parking went away on the neighbor's side.
That is correct. Yeah, and still well below the limits allowed for what is, as it's kind of been said at length, is a very large site.
Okay. All right. Staff, you don't have any other comments? Okay. Then I will entertain public comments, which it occurs to me I didn't throw anyone in. So if you're going to appear here on this particular case, please stand and raise your right hand. And if it's just, if it's just the one gentleman, oh, okay. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I did and do.
Great, thank you. And sir, and please refresh our memory, your name and address, please.
Sure, Todd Eckert from 7042 Jean Court.
Okay.
So, last month, the board asked us to come back with an agreed plan. I think we're there. So we'll start with that. Thanks for giving us a chance to review the plan. Mr. Miller and Mr. Ellis did a great job, I think, in adjusting the plan to meet the request from the neighborhood. I've talked to my neighbors. They're in agreement. So I think we're really good there. So thank you, Mr. Miller. And just one point that I wanted to make, any undisturbed land, so we have the building zone, we have the landscaping zone. Anything beyond that, I've talked to Mr. Miller about leaving natural vegetation. It's creating a nice border to the south and to the north, blocking RKE and Al's Towing area. So that's one thing. It shows as seeded, but I want to put on record if we can leave it natural, that would be a benefit.
I think that's really open to staff and the board's comments. I've driven the neighborhood, and when you look back there, it's not noxious weeds. It is kind of natural grasses and vegetation. We're open to honoring the neighbor's request to leaving that there, as well as obviously we would not intend to disturb trees that are outside of the building area. And there is a somewhat significant tree line. I'm not committing to you. I've done a tree survey and know exactly which will be kept, but we would share Mr. Eckert's interest in that if it's agreeable to the board and staff.
And Al's towing is,
They're
it's going
leaving, aren't
away,
they?
right? It's not.
I believe that's correct. Yeah, this is our property that will be
Right,
developed.
and so, yeah, because, yeah, okay.
What about maintenance on that, the natural areas? How will that be maintained?
Well, I think probably it's a matter of code. Once we close and do the development, it will be our property. It will be on us. The neighbors have proven to be vigilant as it relates to this property. And so while we agree that I think a natural state looks good, if people think, look, it's getting noxious, we'd like you to get in there with a bush hog, then that's a subject for code enforcement that we need to honor, if that's
We'll
satisfactory.
call Mr. Ellis first.
That'd be
Okay.
great.
If you're okay with that representation
Yes, yes, I am.
as a property owner? Okay, good.
Okay, I don't have anything. We did a pretty deep dive on this last month.
We did.
And I think we had quite a bit of discussion. So I'm ready to entertain a motion.
Oh,
Any other public comment? Any others? Okay.
thanks.
Yes, thanks, Mr. Eckert.
So you're gonna do run through the Duncan factors?
Yeah.
And then the site plan as well as,
Yes, the revised site plan.
landscape plan dated
Yes.
6/12?
Yep.
Okay,
Mark? Yeah?
sure, I would move that we approve the application.
We could do Duncan versus Minifilm.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah.
Okay, let me go ahead and read through here. Okay. The board reviewed section 307.06 of the zoning resolution reflecting Duncan versus Middlefield as it pertains to the area variance requested from section 1505.05 to allow for the maximum gross floor area of a commonly controlled business to exceed the maximum 65,000 square feet and a light industrial, that's LI, zoning district as follows. A, the property in question would yield a reasonable return, and there can be beneficial use of the property without the variance. Now, obviously, not all the Duncan versus Minifield factors have to be approved here, but the property is certainly in use now and is financially productive. So there can be a beneficial use of the property without the variance. Comments?
I agree. I think that's an accurate statement.
Okay, good. Moving on to B, the variance is substantial. As our chart presented by Ms. Dorsch indicates, it looks like the requested increase is 189% increase, so it is very substantial. Comments? None? Okay. The essential character of the neighborhood would not be substantially altered, and the adjoining properties would not suffer a substantial detriment as a result of the variance. First of all, we've got the screening to the property, so it would not adversely affect the neighborhood or substantially alter the neighborhood. And the adjoining properties, as we heard from Mr. Eckert, would apparently not suffer a substantial detriment as a result of the variance.
And may I add that from Maxtown Road, this is really not going to be visible. And so from that standpoint, from Maxtown, it really doesn't have any impact on the property, the improvements to the property. And actually, if you drive down Maxtown and you look down where Al's Towing is right now, it's unpaved, dirt lot, lots of old cars sitting there. This will probably only improve it, would be my opinion, as far as the aesthetics of the neighborhood.
Makes sense. Any comments about that part of it? Okay.
Don't be shy.
The variance would not adversely affect the delivery of governmental services. I believe we've sent notices out to the local policing, fire, and so forth, and they had no comments at all, correct?
Well, they did not have any concerns.
They had no concerns, okay? Next, the property owner did purchase the property with knowledge of The zoning restriction council, as you know, we suggest that everyone purchase a property knowing of the restrictions, even though they may not actually have constructive notice. If the property owner's predicament cannot be feasibly obviated through a method other than the variance, that's the only way that you're going to expand the property for its intended use by the property owner.
Let me just comment on that.
Sure.
It's 15 acres, approximately. It's buried back off of Maxtown. This is really probably, it's a light industrial area. It's probably the highest and best use for that property, because there's another self-storage right next to it, which and there's another one behind it on Frost Road, but it's probably the best alternative, because the way it's being used currently is not aesthetically pleasing. I don't think it benefits the township, and I think that in the long run, this is probably, like I said, the highest and best use of this property that we have available right now, so.
And the area's growing, and the current property owner has
Apparently,
done a
there's
great job
a
with it,
need
so.
for it,
Right.
so.
Okay, moving on to G, the spirit and intent behind the zoning requirement would be observed and substantial justice would be done by granting the variance. For many of the reasons we've already stated, it would be a positive use of the property, and as you point out, highest and best use of the property if we do grant the variance.
Okay, any other discussion? Bob, Barry, anything? Paul? Nope. Okay. Oh, go ahead.
I'll make the motion.
Okay.
Okay, I move to incorporate exhibits A through, what do we have, F?
What are we up to, F?
F, yeah.
Yep.
A through F, as well as the board's findings pertaining to the review of section 307.06 of the Genoa Township zoning resolution into evidence and to approve the requested variance from section 1505.05 of the Genoa Township zoning resolution for BZA case 2024-04, application originally received March 26, 2024, to allow for a total maximum gross floor area of a commonly controlled business of, is that the 180?
187,910, I think.
Is that the
Yes.
187,910?
Yes.
Okay. Square feet within one or more buildings on property known as 6201 Maxtown Road, Westerville, Ohio, zoned light industrial, which is LI. This motion is based on the following findings of fact pursuant to section 307.04 of the Genoa Township zoning resolution. First, that such variance or modification will not be contrary to the public interest because, again, it serves a useful purpose. It will not be an eyesore of any sort to the property, and others in the community also have similar variances that have been granted in the past. That owing to special conditions, a literal enforcement of the zoning resolution will result in an unnecessary hardship because, again, the property can be used for a beneficial use within the community, which would serve the community by additional storage spaces being available. And to otherwise do so would impose an unnecessary hardship upon the property owner. 3, that the approval of such variance or modification thereof is consistent with the spirit of the zoning resolution, and substantial justice shall be done thereby because, again, a continued growth of the community and the area, and once again deferring to the chairman's position that it is probably the highest and best use of the property at this time. Don't know that we have any other conditions at this
Do we
point.
want to put a condition in about the landscaping and the
Site plan.
site
And the
plan,
landscape plan.
landscaping plan, and the natural landscape?
Do you normally have to do all those every time?
Okay, so we're going to add the additional conditions that the applicant will comply with the site plan and the landscape plan
Dated 6/12/2024, I think is the
dated
correct
June
date.
12th, 2024.
Correct.
Okay. Council, is that understood?
Yes.
And it's acceptable on behalf?
It is.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you. Then additional conditions, all required permits, zoning or otherwise, be obtained. 2, pursuant to section 307.11 of the Genoa Township zoning resolution, the approved variance shall lapse, expire, and be null and void ab initio if required zoning permits are not obtained within 1 year of this motion of approval. Council, you're aware of that. 3, extensions to this variance may be requested pursuant to sections 307.11A and B of the Genoa Township zoning resolution, as may be amended. Number 4, the Board of Zoning Appeals does grant the Genoa Township zoning inspector authority to extend this variance at their discretion, subject to the deadlines established within section 307.11A of the Genoa Township zoning resolution, as may be amended.
Now,
Once again, I
okay,
made the motion.
okay, I'll second it.
For
Oh, go ahead.
point of clarification, so they already have the variance from last November,
Right.
which they had the
Do we
79,000.
need to rescind that?
No.
Or no?
No, but I would maybe amend the motion to only be the additional 122,
Ah,
910.
okay,
It's 122,910 square feet.
yeah,
And I mean, if you want to say for a total of, that's fine.
yeah.
Okay, I move to amend my motion to revise the total square footage, which is 187,910, to actually include the original variance of 79,585 square feet, plus an additional 122,910 feet, for what will be a total of 187,910 square feet.
Okay.
Perfect.
And I will second your revision, and I will also second the motion.
Very good.
So, okay, discussion. Anybody? Nope, no?
Call a
I
question?
would,
Yes.
I just want to thank you guys for working together so closely to make sure that everybody can walk away happy.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Appreciate the board's time and insight and good direction as well. Thank you.
Good. Okay, well, then I guess we'll call the vote. Mr. Christian?
Yes.
Mr. DeRose?
Yes.
Mr. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. Hanson?
Yes.
Chair votes yes. Motion carries. There you go. Thank
My
you,
thanks
Mr.
again to
Miller.
each
Thanks
of
for your patience, by the way.
No, thank
Third
you.
trip to the well was the charm, I guess. Okay, do we want to get, we're going to take about a 2-minute break until our board member returns, and you're going to hang out, Jerry? Okay, cool, thanks. I don't think there was any good way to do that, but I don't think there's any good way to make the switch. But-
No, there isn't.
But it was, well. We're gonna do that. Because these people basically have, I guess, withdrawn or abandoned the application. Welcome back.
Script. Variance, okay.
Okay. Okay, we're back in session, and, Okay, if we could have quiet out in the audience. If you guys want to have a discussion, that's absolutely fine, but please do it outside. The acoustics in here are awful. Typically, I can hear the audience better than I can hear the people on the board. So, thank you, I appreciate that. Okay, I'm going to call this hearing to order at 7:31 PM, and I'll read the legal notice into the record in a moment. This is Robert and Annette J. Scott requesting approval of a variance to allow for the creation of 2 lots of less than the required 2 acres from an existing 3.936 acre parcel at 6212 Jaycox Road, Galena, Ohio 43021, currently zoned rural residential, BZA case 2024-01, which was continued from April 23rd, 2024. Those wishing to appear on this case, please stand and raise your right hand. Okay. Jaycox Road. Hi. Yeah. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you. Okay, be seated. Okay. Apparently, the applicant has requested to withdraw the application via email dated June 17th, 2024. And at this time, I don't know that there's, if anyone has any discussion, since it's been withdrawn, I think we'll just entertain a motion to allow the withdrawal.
I'll move to accept the applicant's withdrawal request.
Okay.
Subject application, 6212 Jaycox Road, BZA case number 2024-01.
Okay, second by Mr. DeRose. Okay, any discussion? I don't really see the necessity to have discussion, correct? Or comment, I mean.
All the questions?
Yeah, okay. Mr. DeRose?
Yes.
Mr. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. Hanson?
Yes.
Ms. Yu?
Yes.
Chair votes yes. Hearing is adjourned at 7:35. Okay, moving right
So
along.
who seconded the motion?
DeRose.
Thank you.
Okay, now. Okay. I'll open the third hearing at this time. It is 7:35. And I'll read the legal notice into the record, and then I will ask those that wish to speak on this matter to stand and raise their right hand and be sworn in. Tigran and Erna Safarian requesting approval of a variance to allow for 2 freestanding signs to exceed the maximum 24 square foot of signage in a residential zoning district at 4777 Worthington Road, Westerville, Ohio 43082. This is parcel number 317-240-01-001-03, which is currently zoned rural residential, BZA case 2024-07. Those wishing to speak on this matter, please rise and raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you. Be seated. And at this time, the legal notice for this hearing was printed and published on June 15th, 2024 in the Delaware Gazette and posted at the Genoa Township Hall on June 11th, 2024. An attempt to mail notice of this hearing to property owners contiguous to and across the street from the subject property was also made. Into evidence, we're accepting Exhibits A through D, which includes the legal notice, the sign-in sheet, the application, and the staff report dated June 21st, 2024. And we will start with the staff report with Susan Dorch.
Thank you, Mark. So the property address is 4777 Worthington Road. It's a slightly over 10-acre parcel. It's in a rural residential zoning district. You've been provided as part of the staff report a timeline, which I would prefer not to read the whole entire thing because it's quite lengthy, but you have that in your possession. The variance request is from section 1806.04 through 1806.06, which is the sign code section, which establishes a maximum sign area of 16 square feet or up to possibly 23.2 square feet, with some potential bonuses that are listed in the zoning resolution. The applicant is seeking a variance to allow for two existing 32 plus square foot signs totaling 76 plus square feet to remain as erected at their current site. A 22 plus square foot sign increase to what is permitted by the zoning resolution without bonuses being utilized. The actual size of the proposed sign appears to be slightly above 38 square feet, 19 foot 10 inches plus 1 foot 11 inches for 38.013 square feet. If approved, the exact dimensions of the sign in the proposal and/or exact square footage measurements should be noted in the motion of approval for accuracy. With the pursuit bonuses applied, each sign would be potentially permitted an area of approximately 23.2 square feet, which would reduce the requested increase to an additional 15.8 plus square feet per sign. And copy of the application was presented to the Genoa Township Police, Fire, and Maintenance Department. We did not receive any concerns back from any of those departments. As of the date of this memo, staff has not received any complaints about the size of the subject sign that we recollect. I did receive one inquiry today from someone who saw the sign, and they did not provide an opinion for or against. They were just inquiring for the nature of the request. The Genoa Township Zoning Commission is currently considering numerous amendments to the zoning resolution. One of these amendments would revise and increase the maximum permitted sign area for lots in residential zoning districts in certain circumstances, which could potentially further reduce the degree of variance being requested even further. However, this proposal is subject to change and approval of such, and it's not a guarantee that those changes that are being proposed will be approved.
Sure.
If approved, staff recommends that a condition of approval be that the applicant applies for and obtains a zoning permit for the existing sign no later than a specific date set by the board, and that the application for such a permit shall be consistent with the approval granted by the board.
Okay, anybody have any questions for staff? No? Okay, let's hear from the applicant. You guys can either stand at the podium or sit at the table, either one, whatever's most comfortable, and introduce yourself. I assume you're counsel.
Yes, good evening, members. My name's Jack Reynolds. I'm an attorney at Smith & Hale. Address is 37 West Broad Street, Columbus, Ohio.
My name is Steve Atikian. I'm at 4785 Worthington Road.
Ty Seferian, 4777 Washington Road.
Okay. As Susan pointed out, there is a long history. You all may recognize the wall. It was the two walls. They were before you back in November of 2022. the variance request at that point in time was to increase the height of the wall from 8 to 11 feet. There was a sign plate on the wall at that point in time, and in discussing the project with Susan, she had talked with a number of different people about the signage that was being proposed for the panel on the wall. The owners were assured they felt that they would be compliant with the signage code once the wall was approved. And so once the wall was approved, they put the sign up on the wall. Staff noticed the sign located on the walls, asked that there be a application filed for a permit for the signage to be erected on the site. And there were a couple of missteps along the way, because when you calculate the Armenian Estates lettering itself, it is 23.2 square feet thereabouts. So the thinking was that, okay, that's what was allowed when you added the bonuses. What we didn't know was that the band underneath also is considered a part of the sign. So we had to include the band, and when you box the band and the lettering, it is now 38 square feet. The band is in fact embedded in the wall itself, and so it's not something like it's a sign per se, but it is a representation. The colors represent the Armenian flag. So the idea was to further elucidate the fact that this conclave was an attempt to, what do we want to say, illuminate the Armenian heritage of the two owners. And I don't know if you all saw this. Am I allowed to hand out something?
Sure, absolutely.
Just for background, this is a development that you all probably are aware of, and this was an article in the Columbus Dispatch, I think it's last year, just talking about the development itself. And I may have Ty or Steve, excuse me, give you a little background of what they're trying to do there. So anyway, when we made our application, Susan rejected it based on her calculations of the sign. So there was some further discussion, as you can see through the year, couple of years there, about what was appropriate. So we're before you today saying we have two 38 square foot signs on the walls. We would like to have you all grant a variance so that they can stay at the site. We feel that they are appropriately sized for the wall as well as the sign band. If you look at the sign itself, if those members that were here back in 2022, the wall itself is 38 feet in length and 11 feet in height. If you do the math, that's 418 square feet. The signage would be, again, 38 and 38. So if you looked at each panel separately, the signage itself, 38 square feet, is 9% of the wall. So when you look at the Duncan standards, the second question is the variance substantial? And I would say that it is not substantial based on the fact that when you do calculations as where it sits on the sign, the wall size itself is only 9% of each wall. So when we start looking at the Duncan standards, I would say that the size of the wall is appropriate given the size of the sign panel onto which the signage is attached. We would also say that when you look at the Duncan standards, yes, there are other alternatives available, that you could have a wall there, but we feel that it's appropriately sized given the size of the wall, the historical nature of the development itself, the fact that Armenian Estates thoroughly gives a context for the buildings behind it. The buildings behind it are rather large and are impressive in size, and so you would certainly want signage that recognizes the size of the buildings and the history that it represents. When you continue to look at the Duncan standards, whether the essential character of the neighborhood would be substantially altered, I would say no. Whether it interferes with governmental service to the area, I would say no once again. And then whether the owner purchased the property with knowledge of the zoning restrictions. Again, as some would say that the zoning code is there. Unfortunately, the signage code is kind of difficult to calculate, getting to know bonuses, et cetera. Our client did not know the restrictions that were on the property based on the signage, thinking that what they were putting up was allowable under code, and even filed the application for the variance. So the last one is whether substantial justice would be done. I would say yes. They have been through a lot of discussions with various governmental personnel, including Susan, Joe, Mark Fowler at the prosecutor's office. So in terms of what we're trying to present to you this evening, it's something that we feel is appropriate for the site. I might ask Steve to give you a little bit of background on the development itself and why they feel the sign is appropriate for the site.
Hello. Yeah, I mean, we started this project many years ago. Before I lived in Sheffield Park, and my brother-in-law lived in Mansard Estates. So we purchased that land, and we're both very proud American Armenians. I was born in the United States, he wasn't. But when we came here, we found this opportunity to do something. There's only 8 million Armenians in the world. They've been trying to be exterminated their whole life for their Christian belief. They're the first Christian nation. Even till today, that people don't know, like a few months ago, 120,000 Armenians got pushed out of their homes in Karabakh because they're Christian. So we want to bring awareness to people. So when we build like the pool house, it's an ancient temple in Armenia. That's what it represents. That's why when people drive by, they see a temple. The statues are legendary heroes. There's Mother of Armenia in there, and and we've had a lot of people ask us about it. And we had people just drive up, because our gates are always open. You can see it's never shut. People drive up and they ask us about it. We're more than happy to talk to them about it, just to bring awareness to it. Instead that's the biggest thing that for us is we're proud of our culture, proud of our heritage, and we just felt like it's something that we can bring more awareness, not just to Ohio, but all over that, in which it has. We see it is, little by little doing that, so.
And what I would say is that, given the size and the proportion of the wall, if you were to look at what is permissible under code at 23.2 square feet, you would be talking about 11.1 square feet per sign for each of the walls, which is, I mean, even, 1.5 foot would probably give you a 5-foot length sign on that wall, which is a fairly small sign on that wall, and it certainly would be out of proportion with what is already there. So we feel that, again, as you look through the Duncan standards, that we feel that 32 square feet per sign per wall is appropriate, and we would ask for your all support of the variance this evening. And we can answer any questions.
Mr. Chair, may I?
Go ahead, Bob.
Council, thank you for your presentation, sir. Thank you for yours. I want to focus on one part of the Duncan aspects, and that's, you indicated during your process that there were some missteps, but what I would like you to help me walk me through is, as I understand it, a permit was denied, correct? And the appeal wasn't filed, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, and then it seems like about a year or so goes by with your clients having knowledge that the sign wasn't in compliance, correct?
I think the client would argue that they thought it was in compliance.
But there have been multiple visits by staff and the zoning board, correct?
Correct.
And then follow up with the prosecutor's office, correct?
Correct.
So I don't want to belabor all the other points. Walk me how I get past D on Middlefield, where, most people who have to deal with D in Middlefield, most people don't read codes, okay?
Yeah.
And, we generally allow the public that somewhat of a pass. But here, you went through a process since October of 2022 with applications, denials, failures of appeal, contact by the township, bringing to the fact that the sign was not in compliance, contacted by a prosecutor's office. Walk me through how I get past that factor on Duncan versus Middlefield.
Well, again, there were a number of people working with the township trying to understand what was permissible under the code. And so, again, there were meetings, there was a thought, and more than a thought. That's why the application was filed, and the thought was, we studied the code as a result of putting the sign up, thinking that it was compliant, or we wouldn't have put the sign up. So the sign went up thinking that we were permissible for the 22.2 square feet per sign. So the thinking was that those were okay. What we did know at that point in time was that the sign ban also counted as a part of the sign. So that was our mistake in assuming that it only covered the actual lettering, as I understand. So when we made the application, and it was pointed out, and you all got, although I didn't think it was very clear, in all of the definitions as to what a sign was, I think a layman would sit there and say a colored band does not necessarily represent a sign. I mean, if this had been a flag and it were flying above the sign, above the wall, that's permissible. You can have a sign, a flag that's Armenian, and it would be the same colors. But because we affix those colors to the wall, it becomes a sign. So that's a 15 square foot jump over where we were when we originally filed the application. So we went from 2 signs that more or less met code if you omitted the band. So that's where we kind of started getting dinged in terms of, uh-oh, we've got a sign that's a little too big. So that's why there was some discussion with the township about, you know, we thought we were okay because we went through the numbering. You know, we went through and we got the bonuses and the sign itself. And again, if I were a layman, I would look at the sign and its Armenian Estates. So that's where the problem kind of came into being. Unfortunately, those colors are a part of the wall now and can't be, they'd have to be chiseled out. They're not a part of a sign per se. If you all look at your application, the sign itself is illustrated. Hang on a second, I will pull it out. There it is. The sign itself, that's what they thought the sign was simply the lettering that is affixed to the wall, not the band below it. So that was, the problem was that once it was submitted and the determination was made that the band was a part of the sign. So I think that was where they started going back and forth in terms of, we did the calculations, it met the verbiage part of the sign. It was the inclusion of the band that caused the consternation as terms of what would be included in the 38 square feet. So that's where we ran into a problem.
Thank you, Council.
Yeah, Mr. Reynolds, I guess where my struggle comes in is that the wall was built without a permit.
Yeah.
And after the fact, staff indicated it probably wasn't compliant. And asked then, I think, of your clients, did they want to include anything else in a variance permit about the signage? And they said, no, the sign will be compliant. And it's not. And it seems to me that we're in a case of asking for forgiveness rather than permission. And you make the point, I understand about the band as a part of the sign now, but it seems your clients were given an opportunity, and they built, 2 beautiful homes.
Yeah.
I understand that. So they're aware that permits need to be obtained, right, for all that stuff. And so they've known for a long time that Genoa Township was going to be actively involved and would want permits. And if something was non-compliant, as it was pointed out that it was non-compliant, and given an opportunity to do something with the sign beforehand and didn't do it. That's my struggle. Can you appreciate that?
Yeah, I can. Again, we can go back to the fact that there was you can look at all the dates. There was studying, there was a review of what was permitted under code. And so my clients thought that they had met the code. They were going to comply with the code. And so they felt confident enough to come before you all, get the variance for the wall, even have the sign plate up there showing where the sign would go. And we're unaware, once again, that the banner was going to be included in the calculations in terms of what was permitted under code. So if we would take the band off, it would be the code code compliant 23.2. And that's what they thought. And
So-
unfortunately, from what I understand, there wasn't a discussion about adding the band itself. And, I think that I might question it simply because I've been doing this 30 years. So a sign erector may do the same thing, but again, it wasn't discussed.
I don't mean to jump in on top, but,
Thank you.
you know, I don't agree with your statement, because when I look at this list of dates, this has been going on, this situation's going on, it looks like 2.5 years with this sign. You came to us for the wall, we gave you the variance for the wall. And then now, see, and I agree with you, Mr. Phillips, in that you got the variance for the wall, okay, well, to me, there's a disregard for the zoning code, because they were aware of the zoning code, clearly. They did not ask for a variance at the time. And we can argue over that banner all day long.
Yeah.
But the point of the matter is it is still non-compliant. And I believe, my opinion is, and disagree or not, is that there's a blatant, this demonstrates to me, I've been on this board 12 years. This demonstrates an absolute disregard for the zoning code and the officials that enforce it. We do not. These people do. And this tells me that they don't care. They just put up whatever, like it, don't like it. We're going to argue with you over it, and we think we're going to win. Well, I'm not so sure. And that's what I see. I don't see, and yeah, and I do believe it does affect the neighborhood. B, I also believe, which to me is extremely important, but I also believe that they knew, they were aware of the zoning code. And it's not a matter of, well, we put that line underneath and now it's not compliant, we just didn't get it, we're sorry. Because it's been up there, how long? 2 years, 3 years?
2 years.
Yeah.
Less than 2 years.
Okay, long enough. So that's my opinion at this point.
I think it's something the board should probably discuss in a private session.
I do
We
too,
need to allow
but
public comment.
before we do that, I want to hear public comment, and then we're going to go into discussion, and then we'll see what we do.
Okay.
So, anyone that wishes to speak on this matter, please come to the podium, introduce yourself, name and address, and we'll go from there. You have 3 minutes. And we have one gentleman. Please introduce yourself.
Good evening, Board. My name's Rick Whelan. I'm at 9500 Brittonwoods Drive. Chairman, members. Rick Whelan.
Are you a nearby property, an adjacent property owner?
I am not.
Okay.
I am not. But I'm here to kind of reiterate and ask a couple questions of the board. I was kind of confusing on what this application is for. If it is indeed because there was not an actual permit taken out for this sign originally? And is that why we're here now? Because they're asking for kind of forgiveness instead of permission after the fact?
A general answer would be yes.
Okay. So with if in the layman's terms then, if a layman were to become up for an application and didn't know anything about signs, I believe he would contact the zoning officers and ask their advice and stuff on it and get a permit. That's the way it's supposed to work. You're not supposed to just go ahead and do stuff on your own and then come in and find out that you didn't do it right, and then the board tells you something's wrong. So I don't agree that they're here for a variance after the fact. It sounds like their hardship, if they have a hardship at all, was a self-inflicted hardship, which is a denial type of issue. It's for a variance. Can't give somebody a variance if it's self-inflicted for those guys. So in section 307.7, it says, for the Board of Appeals shall not grant a variance unless an unnecessary hardship exists, right? So I don't know how the unnecessary hardship of them not following our laws allows them to come in and ask for a variance for it. A lot of different things going on here, and a lot of it seemed to be brought to the fact because the process wasn't followed correctly in the beginning. You know, either things were missed by zoning, reviewing stuff, the applicant wasn't aware, when the applicant has to be aware. Everybody in our township has to be aware of our zoning code. You buy a house in here, you have to abide by the zoning codes that we have. So that's their detriment on that side of it and stuff. And I'll bring it up too, that there's also another instance on this exact same property that's going on, not relative to this case, on another issue where they violated the zoning code. So, thank you for your consideration.
Okay, anyone else? Sir? Yeah, come on up, name and address.
Jacob Fetzer. I live at 5850 Chiddingstone Lane, Western Ohio.
Are you an adjacent landowner or?
I'm not an adjacent
Okay.
landowner. I'm a layperson, so. All right.
Oh, there you go.
I was just driving around the neighborhood, and that's how I found out about Armenian Estates and this zoning issue. My first thought as a layperson was, holy cow, that's a huge sign. I don't know if that's relevant or not.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Well, Carrie, oh, sir, okay. Name and address, please.
Sure. Bill Andrews, live at 3501 Sunbury Road, Galena, Ohio, in Joa Township.
Okay,
Okay, first off, my two best friends married Armenian girls. They got 3 kids and they're all happily married. This has nothing to do if you want to have a Christian sign out there, an Armenian sign, or a Jewish sign. It's a fact that it's just against our whole code, and you can't ignore this. Before I put a fence over my property recently, I talked to zoning, and they said it could go so much to the street, not all the way. The fence is only 4 feet tall. It's a split rail fence. It wasn't massive like this. And I went to the code, what they told me I could do and I couldn't do. So that's why I did it. Down the way, an attorney that wanted to put up a bigger fence on the front of his property, and he was turned down again and again, and he is about back from the front of the property, about a 3-foot high fence. And that's the way he did it, because he followed the rules. So I'm just saying that this is the code we have, and we don't violate it because we say we're stupid. And by the way, whenever I've done anything important in my life, I really spent this kind of money. I really spent time learning all the rules and investigating it and making sure I had it right. I just didn't take somebody's quick comment and make it into a whole treatise or anything. But I would make a couple observations. This is from Duncan Middlefield. Whether the essential character of the neighborhood be substantially altered or gaining the adjoining properties would suffer a supplemental detriment as a result of the variance. Absolutely. This doesn't fit the countryside. It doesn't fit rural residential. It's 11 feet tall, for Pete's sake. And I don't understand something else on this thing that you sent around. It had an 8-foot high fence, chain link fence around the property. I was told I couldn't do that at all. You know, I couldn't run the thing all the way up along my side property. I had neighbors on both sides, but I wasn't allowed to run the thing up there and just block everything or whatever is going on. I mean, I found the rules and I stopped the thing about 60 feet short of the front of my yard. And so this is just absurd. When someone comes to my house, I live over in Sunbury Road. I went by this place 4 times a day, as a matter of fact. And friends come up and they visit me and they say, what the heck is that? What's going on? What's up there? Where are you going? Is Armenian Estates or whatever it said? And they're asking, what is that doing out here? And that's the thing. It's a rural residential area. It's not even a Kroger sign. And it doesn't fit. Our code said it doesn't fit. It doesn't fit. Also, you can't get the fine, because the sign's affixed to the wall, you can't clean it up correctly, therefore the variance should be given. That makes no sense either. I mean, I could see how you could clean that sign up without, well, it's hooked to the wall, but I don't think it should be hooked to the wall. It's such a huge difference, it's incredible. I just look at all the stuff that I've gone through. I've been in Joa Township 36 years, and built 2 houses, and all the stuff I went through, making sure I did the code and did everything. And I was able to figure it out without an attorney, by the way. I was able to figure it out and do what the zoning department told me to do. And that's fine. By the way,
Sir, your time is up.
by the way, the lights that are real high in the sky, I don't know if there's anything in this code, Susan, but those shine in other people's backyard.
Thank you.
Yeah, they go in other people's backyard too. I don't know.
Thank you.
It's more than just the wall.
Thank you, sir.
May I say something, guys?
Yeah, if there's no further public comment, if you could give
Yeah.
the applicant the
Sure,
ability to.
absolutely. Just let me
address any
get through the
issues.
public comment.
Sure,
and you
sure,
guys
I'm sorry,
can come
go
back.
ahead,
We'll
you
come
guys.
back to you.
Anybody else?
Anyone else? Okay, hearing none. Oh, where? Oh, didn't see you back there. Name and address, please.
Yes, my name is Nadine Long. I'm speaking on behalf of my mother who lives at 6725 Fleur Drive. It's an adjacent property. I am speaking on behalf of this variance. I'm not in agreement for approving this variance to be at the larger than what is the maximum allowance right now. This property, the sign is very well lit, very bright when you drive down Worthington Galena Road. Seems like it's a hazard when people are driving down because it's extremely bright, and it also slows down traffic at that area. The actual sign of where it's lit up does not face the property, but I do know of other residents in Sheffield property that was here a year ago when we were fighting the height of the wall that was having problems with the light being so bright. So my suggestion would be if we take the border out, will the light be as bright? So we're just opposed to having the sign being over 24 foot.
I'm sorry, take what out? I didn't catch it, I'm sorry.
The border out.
Border.
Mhm.
The
The band,
at
the
at
band, the band,
bottom? Okay.
yes.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you.
you, Ms. Long. Anyone else? Okay, this is it. Hearing none, that concludes public comment, and sir, you had a comment.
My name's Ty Safarian. I'm one of the owners of the house. Sitting here, looks like we're a little arrogant here. We're really not. When we built the wall, I was in front of you guys, and it was 3 foot higher, and thanks so much for proving that. At that time, we knew the sign was going to go up. At that time, we knew the size of the sign. Yes, maybe there was misunderstanding with the bend, and between my calculation, my general contractor calculation, some of the township employees, we thought we were right. We thought otherwise would have put on the agenda then that sign. But as we all said, it was under the size, we're fine. We thought we were fine. That was, maybe it's my fault, maybe it's my GC's fault, general contractor fault, whose fault it is, I don't know. But we knew at that time that sign was at the Genova Township since 2021, December 2021. That's the first time they received same exact thing. That's a picture there from 2021. So everybody knew that size sign is going there. Like I said, between the math, the math itself is really hard, how fast you're going, how big the sign is. And maybe it's my fault. I just want to put everything on me. So yes, we did know the sign's going to be there. We did know the band called flag. So we all knew it was going there. Maybe I did miscalculation with the signs, but like I said, everything was there. There was nothing hiding. The exactly size what you see there, it was here since 2021. At the emails, at the signs. So we all knew it was here. It's not hiding from no one. And yes, we did work because first of all, we were shocked. Why, if I would know there was a size was different in 2021 and 2022 when I was in front of you guys, I would have said, hey, let's add the sign too, because if the variance was you could add the sign to it, you can add anything to it. Because of bigger wall, you could have add anything to it. If, we could have add, if we knew it was a wrong size. We did not know. I didn't know personally. And I'm not, I'm a car guy. I'm not the sign guy, nor I know what it is. It really, I mean, I don't want you guys to think, I mean, I get it, it's not gonna go through. I don't wanna sound like an arrogant, but we're not arrogant people. We're not arrogant people. Yes, maybe it took 2 years, but this sign means something to me. This sign means, heritage of, thousands of years. That's, the building when I built it, it was a, temple, where I'm from. And, forget about being Christian, but forget about a lot of things, we forget about that stuff. But there's really, I just don't want you guys to think I'm arrogant. Your neighbors are arrogant. I'm not an arrogant person, by no means. It was not forgotten. We knew this exact size by the inch. Everything was, we all knew. But with the math, if you open your, I bet none of you guys, if you open that side, that book you guys have of the signs, you guys won't figure out. My engineer said, our engineer said, Ty, I cannot figure out. Can you guys find out from Genova Township how to count that? So we didn't know that. So we know, between my general contractor, between and we tried to figure out, we couldn't figure out. And yes, when I was here 2 years ago, if I knew it was extra size is bigger, I would have put it on a agenda. I mean, that would be the problem for us, right? The size difference, and that's it. So, I mean, the way you said it was we're here for 2 years, we're going through, it's not like we never spoke to Susan. We have spoke to Susan. We came here. I have spoke, I had several meetings here. Yes, we went through this, we never went to prosecutor. Actually, we never prosecuted. They said we go to prosecution office. But actually, we never went to court or anything like that. But so if we would have known 2 years ago, and probably actually more than 2 years ago, around 2 years, whatever it is, we would have added that sign to that wall, and I don't think we would have a problem then. But obviously, there's a problem with the signage.
Mr. Reynolds, you had a what's interesting about this case is that with the sign bonuses, you could have a 23.2 square foot sign, and the total square foot of the sign on their sign application is 23.13. So it wasn't like they were picking numbers out of the blue. There was thought and recollection as to what was permitted under code. That sign cost a lot of money.
Well, forget about the money-wise. I mean, if you guys, I know that the flag underneath leads up. If you guys say, Ty, unlead it, I can unlead that. So there's, the sign, the flag underneath would not be leaded. I'm okay with that too. If you not consider it part of the sign, in that respect, I'm okay with that. I understand, first of all, I don't want you guys to think we're arrogant. Maybe we have a bigger house, but we're not arrogant people. Like it was the way you guys said, it was like you guys knew, you guys this, you guys that, but I'm your neighbor. I'm your guy who is your neighbor. I mean, I'm your guy, so I don't want you guys to feel something bad about me, or us, I should say.
Anything else, Mr. Reynolds?
I asked the sign company to provide me with what the sign would look like under code, and they weren't able to produce it for me by today. But I was hoping to give you all an idea as to what the sign would look like under code, because I think if you were to look at it under code, it would be out of character and it wouldn't look correct on the wall itself. I appreciate that the township is looking at amending their code to allow for some greater square footage. That would certainly help, and obviously it hasn't been done yet. But, the thought being is that regardless of what's here tonight, I think we would be here tonight asking for a variance if you were to look at what 11.1 square foot does, because I think that was, they're all different kinds of subdivisions, and they're all different kinds of, entry features. And so, each entry feature has different size of sign, and so, you've got to take them individually in terms of what you're asking for and what's appropriate. And I think that what we're trying to say here today is, they were told that 23.2 was an appropriate size under the code. They lived with that. They bought the sign. They built the sign. They affixed the sign. We filed the application for the sign permit, thinking it was permitted. And now here we are in front of you all. And I can appreciate you, Mr. Chairman, with it taking the time to get here. But we are here, and we don't mean to be, derelict in our duty to adhering to the code. So I appreciate your all's time this evening. There are some items there that I would love to have been able to show you what the code would allow, because I think you'd be shocked at how small it would be.
Can I ask one more question? Susan, am I allowed, like, if I would remove the box and paint on, just do the real paint on that thing?
Well, as I understand it, just removing, I mean, if the bands were gone, the sign would meet code, correct?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
right. I mean, I know you don't have an example, but I mean, that's one
Yeah.
example is just picture without the band.
Yeah.
So can I paint it
yeah.
on it?
Yeah, go ahead. Let's let the board discuss and all, and, because it not do something on the fly, so.
Yeah.
I did have one question. The lighting was mentioned in the comments, but the lighting is not an issue of the lighting of the sign. There's
That's
nothing-
correct. It's
okay,
not an issue.
Okay,
Issue in this.
right, it meets code,
It meets code,
it meets
correct.
code. Exactly.
Right,
I don't
that's
mean to
not
say
the
not an
issue
issue, I
here.
mean, it's not part of the variance. Yeah.
Yeah, so, Mr. Chairman, we
Let's- go ahead.
probably need a motion to recess into private deliberations for the purpose of discussing the merits of the application.
I was just thinking we'd do that.
Yep.
I'll make a motion that we go into private discussion, and we adjourn until, at this time. Second, by Mr. DeRose, okay. All in favor? Aye. Okay. All right.
Quorum, we don't do this thing in quorum.
All
right.
Okay, we're back in session at 8:45. And, okay, we have discussed the application and I will, yes.
I think you need to be official, you need to make a motion to come
You gotta
back
come back
into.
in.
Oh, okay. I'll make a motion to come back into session on the application.
I'll
that was
second
under
it.
Consideration. Thank you, Bob. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Thank you, Susan. Okay, so, anyone have any comments?
Point of privilege from the chair.
Absolutely.
Can I ask the applicant a question before we continue into our deliberations?
Yes, absolutely. The floor is yours, sir.
Counsel, as you can tell from my earlier questions, I'm having a hard time with this, given the track record of how we got here. But I have a question. Could you and your client consider offering this board some sort of compromise so we can, because part of this has to be the substantial, balance against the substantial justice. And at this point, like I said, I'm having a hard time granting forgiveness as it is as such. So, I would, ask if your client would be willing to consider some sort of compromise, offer something for me to get there or for this board to get there in terms of getting over that hurdle.
We certainly would, and what we would like to do is to, we've sat here over the last period of time talking about what is appropriate and what is a sign and not a sign. So I think it would behoove us to take some time, 30 days, to go back and sit with staff and look over what we've been discussing this evening and see what compromises we can make in order to comply with the code or come into more compliance with the code. So yes.
Bring back before us.
Yes,
for
come back
review.
before you all with what we think is workable and would show you substantial justice to grant the variance.
Mr. Chair, I don't know, would that require a motion?
Yes.
Or is that?
Yeah, you're going to need a motion to
Okay.
continue to the next, I think Susan's.
You looking at the next?
It'll be the July 23rd meeting. And, is there one?
That's what I was looking for.
A 20?
Page 20.
Oh, I did? Another senior moment. Oh, there it is.
Okay. Mr. Chair, I move that the applicant is given 30 days to the next meeting to propose some sort of compromise for us to consider in this variance application before us.
So we're going to need time, date, place certain.
You're right.
That's what I was- I was
Let me
gonna
help
do.
you out with that.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay,
You have the dates.
continue it to the July 23rd meeting
Okay.
with the applicant's documents being received by staff no later than the close of business on July 9th. Is that okay with everyone?
Does that fit with your ability to get it
2
done?
weeks before the meeting. Does that give you adequate time with the holiday and everything? Mr.
That may be a problem.
Okay.
I'll amend it to
Then we
more
can-
than 30 if that's
We
okay
can,
with staff.
well, hold on. Let's hear from the applicant.
We've got July 4th and everybody's,
Right.
it's 4-day
And
weekend.
that's why I'm
yeah.
asking you, not telling you.
So I got to go back to the sign company and talk to them about it as well.
Okay.
Do we want 2 months, just to make
You
sure?
want
Why
2
don't we do
months?
2 months?
Okay, then you want to do the August 27th meeting? And then, can you have all your materials in by July 30th?
Yeah, that's much better.
Is that agreeable with staff? Okay, you want to amend your motion then, Bob?
Yeah, you want to give me the dates?
Uh,
I'll go back through and I'll do the dates.
The August 27th meeting, and have all materials in by July 30th. Which is actually the
August 27th.
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 And then July 30th to have
Yeah.
everything submitted.
That's.
That gives you essentially a 30 days-ish.
I guess my question to all you guys, what do you guys want to see from us?
We'll get it
Oh,
done.
we don't do that.
We don't do that.
We did that, this
It's your
township would look way
application.
different.
We'll do it.
I will amend my motion to continue this hearing until August 27th, 2024, with the materials to be supplied to staff by July 30th, 2024, of any compromise that the applicant wants the board to entertain before we rule on this.
I agree.
Second.
Second by Ms. Yu. Should I call the question? Mr. DeRose? Yes. Mr. Hanson?
Yes.
Mr. Phillips?
Yes.
Ms. Yu?
Yes.
Chair votes yes. Continued, see you on the 27th of August.
you.
Okay?
We will be back.
And as we will as well. Okay, and that hearing is concluded at 8:52. Okay, we will go now to. Thanks, guys. Hey, thanks, Peter. Okay. So, this is that one, and we are, okay, here we
Since
go.
I called us to do this on the 27th, I put a protection around that date. Somebody's, I
Don't
can't be out of
leave
town,
town.
no depositions, no anything. It's like, I just sent a thing. Yeah, I just sent.
That's
I just
right.
sent a thing to my paralegal saying, look, the
Vacation is
27th
now
has to
canceled.
be.
Tell the kids it's canceled. Oh, gosh, that's right. Okay. The next case.
meetings end.
Okay, the next case on the agenda is, I'll read into the record, Jason and Candace Baker requesting approval of a variance. Is this one you're gonna sit out on?
No.
No, okay. Requesting approval of a variance to not install a required pool fence and/or wall at 2395 Sweet Clover Lane, Galena, Ohio, 43021, Sage Creek subdivision, currently zoned rural residential, BZA case 2024-08. And those that are appearing on this case, please stand and raise your right hand. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Thank you. Be seated. Okay. Sure. I'm getting there. Here we go. Okay, everybody's been sworn in. And I have read the application into the record. The legal notice for this hearing was printed and published on June 15th, 2024 in the Delaware Gazette and posted at the Genoa Township Hall on June 11th, 2024, and attempted to mail notice of the hearing to property owners contiguous to and across the street from the subject property was made. We have accepted into evidence exhibits A through, I think it's F now with the pictures. Is that correct, Susan? With the pictures that we received? That's A through F? Oh, they were. Oh, okay. So it's A through E. Ah, okay. And I think we are ready to hear from staff.
Thank you, Mark. So, as noted in the legal notice, the address for this subject property is 2395 Sweet Clover Lane, Galena 43021. It is in the Sage Creek subdivision, lot 6417. It is a 1.47 acre parcel in the rural residential zoning district. The plat for Sage Creek Section 2 was recorded in March 2002. The applicants are the original owners of the residence. Zoning permit 2013257 was issued for the of the residents on September 25th, 2013. The zoning permit 2023-093 was issued for the construction of an in-ground swimming pool and a 48-inch tall fence on April 27th, 2023. Mr. and Mrs. Baker attended the Genoa Township Board of Zoning Appeals meeting on May 2nd, 2024, and subsequently, the variance application, as noted, was received. They're requesting the variance from section 1709.01C of the Genoa Township zoning resolution, which states swimming pools shall be completely and securely walled and/or fenced to prevent uncontrolled access from any street and/or adjacent property. As such, walls and/or fences shall not be less than 4 feet in height, shall comply with section 202.03, and shall be in good condition with a gate and lock. The applicant is requesting a variance to approve the use of their locking automatic pool cover in lieu of a latching, a fence with a latching gate. So the application states that the neighboring Berkshire Township allows auto covers as pool barriers, and staff contacted the Berkshire Township zoning inspector, who confirmed that they define swimming pools as accessory structures, and they, he said, we just require they follow setbacks for the property lines. Otherwise, everything else is regulated by the HOA. The Delaware County Department of Building Safety requires either a approved ASTM safety cover, or the pool area needs to have a pool fence. So the applicant states that they attended the Genoa Township meeting on April 2nd, May 2nd, to seek advice from the committee members, which would be the Genoa Township trustees. Mr. Baker spoke during the public comment portion of that trustee meeting. Mr. Antonetz suggested that seeking a variance by submission of an application to the Board of Zoning Appeals would be a quicker method than requesting a change to the Genoa Township zoning resolution. Trustee Goodman and Trustee Vaughn provided their reasoning for previously retaining the pool fence requirement in the zoning resolution, which about 2 years ago, that was a proposal to amend their code to require one or the other be in line with the Delaware Department of Building Safety, but the trustees at the time voted to retain the pool fence requirement. A copy of the applicant's application was provided to police, fire, and maintenance. The fire marshal had no concerns, and the other departments did not respond. I did Mark had called in and asked a question if the fire department had no concerns, and there's that comment because there is nothing in the fire code, so they only enforce fire code. So fire code doesn't address this issue, so consequently, they would have no comments.
And I also want to add to that, yes, that was me, Mark, that called in. Yeah, there's like 18 of them.
Everybody's named Mark.
Yeah, really, just say Mark, we'll all answer. And I also happen to have, on another issue, another matter, I also attended that meeting, and I was aware of the applicant's request at that time and the comments that the trustees made, just so everybody is aware. So,
That's
I
it.
don't have anything for staff. Does anybody have any questions, anything? Okay.
I'm curious, how did they know they needed a variance? Did someone come,
They,
because it looks like the pool's already in.
correct, and the code requires them to have a fence. Their application was approved with a fence. So
Okay.
they're asking to not put in the fence.
Got it.
So the original
As-
application had a fence with it, correct?
Correct, because that's a requirement.
Right, okay.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Bob.
Susan, so when we write to, we, in the sense you,
Staff.
staff writes to the various agencies, is the Department of Building and Safety one that we contact? Is that one of the ones you contact? And they didn't have any response or anything on? they
No, I
didn't-
just asked the question of
Oh,
what
okay.
they require.
Okay,
It
all right.
wasn't asking them an opinion on the.
Okay,
No, I don't ask that question.
okay.
It was just what they require per code.
There's just a difference between what they require and what our,
They require either
Resolution.
or.
and we require a fence, okay.
So they don't have to have an automatic pool cover, but they can, but they have to have a fence per
And
the
this-
zoning resolution.
And is this one of those resolutions that may be revisited, or might it take from that comment that they're not gonna revisit? We just don't know.
I mean, they did do that in the code amendments, I think it's about 2 years, ago. And the trustees at that time, which I don't think Mark was on another Mark. Mr. Antonetts was on the
We have
board
too many.
at the time, but trustee Goodman and trustee Vaughn were on at that time.
Okay, anything else, anybody? Let's hear from the applicant. You've been here now since lunch, so you kind of know the drill if you want to come up and introduce yourself and then tell us what you want to do.
Hi, Jason Baker, 2395 Sweet Clover Lane. Yeah, we were actually, when we were discussing this is a process for us. We don't deal with this every day, and we're so grateful that you guys are willing to listen to us in regards to this. When we started this process of building the pool, our goal was to put a fence in because we didn't know, well, the structure changed a little bit. There was going to be a little bit of a gap on the pool from a grading standpoint. The grading worked out to where it met to the pool itself. And when we put the automatic cover in, we did additional research with it to realize that, one, our insurance company approved us just for the pool cover. So then we went to inquire, what would it be to not have a fence in looking at it. Our adjacent township, which Berkshire doesn't have it, so we thought we would request it. We didn't know how to go about that, so we came here and asked the questions. That's where we had the chance to meet and discover what we needed to go through. So we filed the application, and we were looking for an opinion from you guys. So we feel, as with the approval of the insurance company, that they saw no problem with it and they insured us for it, as well as, and I think we added that. I think our insurance policy was added to this. Yep, in here as well. And then obviously with the cover seals it, so you can't even get into it. It can take the weight. I think we have 2,000 pounds, but it's actually more than that. You can see that you can walk on it. Unfortunately, my kids spend many nights on it. You could be on the cover itself. And when we have it closed, it's passcoded, as well as you have to be visual to see the passcode for it to be closed. So it's, meaning you have to be in front of it as you're doing the passcode. Like, it's not on a phone. You can't do it remotely. Like, I can't be somewhere, sorry, I said that incorrectly, but yeah, the right idea is you have to have visual line of sight. So we feel that it was a more secured option. And by doing this, and you know, not to be remiss about it, but it also prevents or provides a more aesthetically pleasing look to our backyard. Sage Creek, phenomenal neighborhood. We're very natural in what we do. All of our natural swales that we have for water removal and everything that we provide into it, this would provide more along the landscape of which we're providing. And then you can see from the pictures, we're completely surrounded by trees on it as well. The last picture are my kids on it, as you can see as well. They're on the cover. Yeah, about 500 pounds right there. So I've got a lot of kids. So, yeah. We do have, yeah. Yeah, I know, yeah. Yeah. Bring them over, we can do that, yeah. So, yeah, yeah, so, it's more, this is a first-time process for us. We respect, obviously, your decision, what we move forward with, but we feel like in no shape or form do we want to put anybody in a safety issue. As I have 4 kids and we have other individuals that live in our neighborhood with kids, at no point would I ever want to discourage the fact that we don't take safety first and foremost. But I believe, as you could see on the cover, you cannot penetrate the pool itself. So that's where we're at. Anything else? No?
Yeah, it looks like it goes in a, like it's like in a channel. The edges are in a channel of the pool.
Well, it's a panoramic. We were trying to show all.
Yeah, I'm looking at that bottom.
Yeah, when you see here, it's
Or, yeah, I was looking at this one.
Rectangular.
Yeah, it looks like it's
a
it's under the lip of the pool.
Oh, is that? it's- Okay, sorry, I thought you meant the
sorry.
panoramic.
Yep.
Right, you basically can't get under.
You can't
the
put a
cover.
head,
Correct.
your head can't fit into it, you can't get it.
Yeah, the cover's not on the
Mhm.
top of the pool. It's okay.
Yeah, it covers above it.
Mr. Chairman,
Oh, go ahead, Bob. Sorry.
Mr. Baker, on your Appendix E, that when you got the itemized, for the automatic pool covers, I looked down at the bottom. It says that, I want to focus on the requirement of the HSTM standard. Do you know if that meets the Delaware County requirements for the ATSM standard?
Had to be ATSM standard.
Okay, I'm just saying, I mean, that's not something that comes within our purview. So, and that's why I was asking staff earlier whether they were requesting information from Delaware County, whether there was an approval that the ATSM that you're showing here on your pool cover meets with the Delaware County requirements.
From my ledger, it does. Yeah, I mean, it does meet the requirement, the ATSM, but we can double check that if you want. I mean, no problem doing that. Okay. It is, well,
This is down a path that's the first for me. I don't know
Yeah.
what it is, but I know that the county requires something, and I just want to know whether what you have meets what the county requires.
Yeah, the World News and Report rated it in 2024, our specific cover, the safest cover in the country. So that was rated by them and include the ATSM. So that was for 2024 as well.
I mean, for me, Mr. Chair, that's the reason I was asking, is that the variance is going to ask us to take a look at our resolution, and the only thing that gives me any cover to start to consider that is to make sure that the pool meets at least the county. And I would feel more comfortable knowing that the application actually meets the county before I look at anything that would get us out of, not following the resolution.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion, Mr. Chair.
No, that's good. Is there a backup system in the event of a power failure?
I have a backup generator that was installed in May. May.
End of May.
Yep, there's a backup system for it.
Jason and I know each other just sort of casually, just for the board's edification, just
That's it.
that disclosure. Jason, I'm sort of old-fashioned, okay? And I guess my concern is for not only your own kids, who could access it probably from the house, but neighborhood kids. And with a fence, it seems to me that there's less likelihood that they can get to the pool. Now, that leads to my next question. How can we be comfortable knowing that that cover will be closed all the time when somebody's not there? I mean, during the day, you're playing with the kids, you want to run to church or the, whatever, and you don't close the pool off. What protection do neighborhood kids have? It's called an attractive nuisance. They're going to come over and
That's what it was when I was in law school.
play in the pool. Yeah. So what can you share with the board that would give us a comfort level?
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Could I give you a 100% chance? No, I can't. I mean, I would be remiss to say that. That'd be no different than me leaving a gate open. It was propped open because we let somebody in there as well. And anybody that says from a gate standpoint that they're 100% sure that would be incorrect as well. So I think your percentage of chances would be equal with a fence as it would be with a pool cover. Understanding that we still have to close it, just like I have to close my garage, just like I have to close everything else. I wouldn't want to sit here and say it's going to be 100% of the time. I couldn't. But I can't say that about my gate either with my fence. So I don't know. There's not 100% certainty on anything in that side of it. So I guess that would be my only proposed response to that. So
Just out of curiosity, did you see this phantom
I just
email
saw it
that we
about
got? Oh, okay.
10 minutes ago.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, during the break, probably.
Yes,
Yeah,
I think it was during the
okay.
break, yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure you saw it.
And
Yeah.
We've
Apparently there
actually
was some
had
concern.
personal conversations with everyone that we would have sent the letter to. And they all supported us. They're like, oh, the pool cover actually seems safer than a fence that could be jumped or just
Okay.
unlocked or.
And this is a little bit, everybody has their opinion on this, and I totally understand. We had a response from one of the members of the HOA. Your decision is what they would follow on this side of it.
That's not unusual.
Yeah, yeah, and that's fine. But they
Just-
were in that side of it, and then to come out with this was a little bit, I mean, I just saw this beforehand, so.
Sure.
And I understand.
Oh, I
their-
totally understand that.
I understand their concerns.
Mhm.
My argument is, we put something in safer than what currently a fence. If I didn't put this in, I would argue completely that my insurance company feels like it's safe. They would be the last people to want
Across the
insurance.
street feels like it's, literally across the street, and that's in Appendix F, is the township line for Berkshire and Genoa. And literally across the street is that line. So
yeah.
our neighbors across the street could install pools without fences. So when we spoke with the board, they said we would follow whatever the township.
And not to take anything away from it, our foot traffic is, I mean, aside, there absolutely are children here. We don't have the foot traffic that you see through normal neighborhoods. We just don't.
Right, our lot, as you noticed, is almost 1.5 acres. Most lots are almost up to 3 acres. We have that tree line bordering us. It's very private.
Yeah.
So, and
It's
we can't really see the road even from our backyard. We placed it strategically behind our house versus some neighbors who have pools, it's on the side and it's very visible, where ours isn't. So the temptation isn't there like it is at some homeowners.
Okay, anybody else have anything for the applicant? Then let's hear, I'm coming there, hang on. Let's hear from members of the public. Sir? Come to the podium, name and address, and you address the board, you don't ask them questions.
Dave Jasnik, 5957 Highland Hills Drive.
I'm sorry, what was your name again?
Dave,
Dave?
Last name?
Jasinek.
Okay, and
Thank you.
address your comment to the board, please.
Okay, overall, I think that's probably the new thing coming and everything, but in doing some research, which I don't have a problem with the aspect of this being a replacement for a fence, but in everything research I did, it says that basically these covers are an additional level of safety in addition to a fence. I found that on 3 websites. One of the,
Do you live in Sage Creek also?
no, I'm in Highland Lakes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. One of the things though too, because I'm an engineer by trade, retired, is winter. You need to have a winter cover. Because when you talk about, let's say you go to like roof snow loading, there's requirements. And based on 800 square feet, 2,000 pounds, 1 inch of settled snow is 1,040 pounds. 2 inches is 2,080 pounds. You just exceeded your 2,000-pound rating. 3 inches of settled snow, we get this a lot, is 3,200 pounds. 1 inch of wet snow is 1,400 pounds. 2 inches of wet snow is 2,800 pounds. As you go on and up, and we do get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 inches. So it could collapse. So they recommend like a winter cover in addition to this cover. I would be slightly hesitant only because my career and who I've dealt with over the years as far as with insurance requirements. Because if you look at everything that's happened across the country with tornadoes and everything, when you rebuild, you have to rebuild to the current standard. Otherwise, insurance companies won't insure you later on. So if the current standard, and the variance might take care of this, is for a fence, if something happens in the meantime or something like that, or even thereafter, if it's in writing and it's a standard, it might create a problem for the homeowner. But I think this is stuff that's coming. It probably should need to be addressed. However, I don't think we're quite there yet, but it's something to consider. That's fine.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
Rick Whelan, 9500 Britton Woods Drive. I do not live in Sage Creek either, also, Board. But getting on Google Earth today, I looked around the township, and there's a lot of pools in our township. I wasn't able to count them, but just in the area of your neighborhood, Mark, I think I did come up with about 8 of them. And all of them have fences around it. I looked in some other neighborhoods. All the pools have fences around them. I will read you something from, I don't know if you guys have done any research. I can ask the board if you've done any research on that, the cover that they're recommending or whatever that they have. But I pulled a sheet out from the ASTM F1346 Pool Safety Covers Manual. And it's pretty much, this is an international standard that they came up with. This is not a 100% documented device for safety stuff. It's a recommended standard. And that's what these areas are using across our nation. So actually reading from their standard that they have a note here that says all pool safety covers are supplementary pool safety aids and are not suitable for individual or constant supervision of an adult. Pool covers can never replace adult supervision, nor can they be a guarantee against drowning or other accidents. Always replace your pool cover after swimming. Experts agree that multiple layers of protection offer the best protection against drowning and near-drowning incidents. Experts agree that multiple layers of protection offer the best protection. The most at risk are children under 5 years of age, so always be extra vigilant with children in this age group. So with the experts agreeing to multiple layers of protection, that's what we have here in our township right now. That's what our zoning resolution says. We require a fence, 4-foot-high fence, that you can't pass a 4-inch object through it. If you guys know your stuff, you know all this information. If you don't, you should know it. This is a requirement in our township. Everybody in our township needs to go by it. If you live in our township, you go by it. If you live in Berkshire Township, go by what they have in Berkshire Township. If you live here, go by our stuff. We don't need to change our stuff for one family who has a lot just like everybody else does in here. They don't live on the side of a mountain like they would in Arizona, where there's a big stone cliff on one side that would be a hardship that they can't put a fence around their pool. They have plenty of room at their property to put a fence around their pool. Everybody else in our township does. And I can't even understand why our trustee would even offer them an objective thing to come to a zoning commission and go against our zoning resolution. To offer a variance for a standard that we have for safety protection. Also, Delaware County.
Okay, thank you.
No, 1 second, I need to.
No,
I'm sorry,
thank
sir.
you. Thank you, Mr.
They've been using a
Whelan.
pool that's not inspected by Delaware County.
That's fine, thank you.
Their generator hasn't been inspected by Delaware County.
Thank you.
That's what we're dealing with here.
Thank you.
And you need to offer more time.
Okay, anyone else?
Hi, My name is Michelle Deviney. I am a neighbor and a resident of Sage Creek. In the little anonymous letter you received there, I am one of the houses listed with children. I have 4 children, ages 16 to 6. My kids are at the Bakers almost every day, especially of the summer. And when discussions of the pool first went in, Jason and Candy came to myself and my husband numerous times about the safety concerns for the kids in the neighborhood. And I can guarantee you with every ounce of me that there are not 2 people that are more diligent and careful with the safety of their children than Candy and Jason. Not only that, but with their community. Jason is a lifetime resident of this area of town. He is very involved, as is Candy. And there is no one that is more careful and wants to do the best for their community than these 2 people. I am in a position where my house is probably the only house in the neighborhood that has the best view of Candy and Jason's house, just the angles of our houses. You cannot tell there's a pool back there. I have the clearest view of the side of their house where you could maybe see a pool, and there is no view of the pool whatsoever from the road. No one would know that there is a pool back there. Like Jason said, we have very little traffic that comes through our neighborhood. The most traffic are my own children. And we are totally comfortable and 100% trusting of this pool cover being the newest modern innovation of pool safety. It would be like a gate. Any teenager, probably many of us in this room, have hopped a fence every once in a while. And that's just, no one can protect against that. What's the protection with a fence and a gate? I grew up with neighbors who had a pool. They had a gate with a lock in Westerville. We just flipped the lock and went in and swim. They were okay with that. Like, it's just, there's nothing that's extra protective of a gate and a lock. It makes 0 sense. And not only that, but aesthetically, it would be, our neighborhood values the natural landscape of Genoa Township, of Berkshire. It's what drew us to that neighborhood, and it would, I mean, this is such a like less deal than safety, I understand, but it would hinder the aesthetics of our neighborhood, their property in particular. It would it would be an awkward.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Michelle, can I get your address, please?
Yep, it's 2466 Sweet Clover Lane.
Thank you.
What was your name again? I'm sorry.
Michelle Devenny.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, anybody else? Okay, then at this time, we will go into discussion, I guess. Did you guys want to
Respond to any of the comments.
Uh,
You don't have to. we just-
Yeah, you don't have
Yeah.
to, but if you want to, you can.
Well, I feel like Michelle's statement about our
Sure.
concern for safety and our neighbors, we feel much safer with the auto cover than a fence. We just left for 10 days on a trip, and I looked at him and I was like, there's no way I would feel comfortable leaving a fence to enclose that pool. The auto cover was 100% the right call. He spoke about winter cover. This is a winter cover. I hear what he's saying about the snow, but we can walk on it. We can like shovel it if we need to, if we're concerned about it. And first and foremost, we want to keep we have 4 kids. We want to keep them safe, and we feel like this is the right solution. We love having the access to the rest of our lawn instead of enclosing it with a fence. It just visually is more inviting. It's why we moved there. And we're private. We are a private community, very quiet.
Yeah, I'm
Thank you.
familiar with it.
Okay, thank you.
Might
I've been
have-
back in there.
So you might have said, what are the age ranges of the kid, your children?
Of our children?
Yeah.
We have,
15, okay.
I was going to go the other way.
Mr. Chair?
Yeah, you're right.
This is for either one of you. When you were doing the getting the permits or whatever you needed for the pool, I understand, but is anything in your paperwork give you certification from I'm still back on the issue of, because on the Delaware County certification, because, the variance is asking us whether we have a fence, whether there's to be a fence or no fence. I feel more comfortable knowing or a certification from the county that the building, that the, whatever standards they have.
Not really.
But to give you that certification, I don't have that right in front of me. I know we have paperwork on it. I would want to get,
Okay.
get that for you. Absolutely can get that for you.
I mean, because if you see the position that we're in, it's a fence or no fence, there's.
We want to, and we want to make sure you guys have all the documentation. We don't, there's nothing for us to leave outside of this, so.
Our discussion, go ahead, sorry, go ahead.
Has your pool been finalized by Delaware yet?
It was finalized.
No, it wasn't. I have the records right here today. That's a lie.
Excuse me.
I can't sit, I'm sorry.
If you can't sit and be quiet, then you need to go. I'm not going to put up with a bunch of interruptions from the gallery.
We can check with.
Okay.
I apologize to everybody.
I paid to have it done. I'm not a permit person.
Okay.
So I'll check with our pool person.
Would that
so.
have been in our paperwork or?
I guess to address that question, I would say they would have to have one or the other. So I would assume that Delaware would make sure that their pool cover met their standards if they weren't going to have a fence. But maybe
That's what I'm kind of figuring has happened. I was just wanting to know if that is in the record or anything that what I'm saying, the absence of evidence isn't evidence. So that's why I wanted to know whether if it's in somewhere in the application. I've never had an application for a pool,
Right.
so I don't know where it would be found. If you could point it to me.
We can pull the applications that we have and get those
So-
to you, and then we can also call our pool, the gentleman that put our pool in. So.
Right, and maybe I'm misunderstanding, so I apologize. So the diagram and everything was signed off with a fence, but you're saying the final approval, like they finished everything, they completed it, and then they would have come back to check it? Is that what you're asking? That's what you're,
two different processes. Like our zoning permit is separate from Delaware County's inspections and all. So they would do a final, like our final, we just verify that you put in your fence. But, they come out and do inspections as construction on,
right.
so, and then they
Bring the
finalize
packet
that,
of-
so.
Yeah, because as I see it, the variance is asking for us to not do the fence in lieu, like, as you say, in lieu of the cover. And for me, I would want to know as a basic thing that the cover that it meets the standard by Delaware
Right.
County to consider that.
Absolutely.
So just so I'm clear, the cover that's on it is the one that was in the initial plans?
Correct,
Okay.
yes.
Yep.
Yep, and that was all.
I have to
I wish I would have
simplify
brought the
a lot of
package.
this
No.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're talking, I mean.
I'm
we
just
wanna
like
make
you
sure-
guys. I don't do this all day either.
Yeah,
So-
no, and that's, and but we can get you that information to make sure it's completed, so.
Okay.
I guess from my perspective, with purpose of our discussion, I agree with Dave's comment that this is probably the wave of the future. And as I mentioned to you earlier, I'm a little slow to accept those things, but I'm also willing to defer to the people that should know those things. Berkshire, for example, has approved it. I'm sure they looked into it. The Delaware County, the Delaware Department of Building Safety, they allow either a fence or this cover. So once again, I've got to defer to them and trust that they've all looked into these things. So from my perspective, it does seem like the right way to go for some people. And I understand the comments about jumping the 4-foot fence. You wouldn't think this body could get over an 8-foot fence, but I've been in pools that I shouldn't have been in when I was younger, not recently.
I grew up in California, the fences were higher.
I don't want to kid you. I've seen them on a treadmill, so.
And I also agree with some of Rick's comments, not many, but a few of them. But he did make a comment about multiple layers of protection. I don't believe we have multiple layers of protection in Delaware or in Genoa Township as it relates to a pool. It's either a fence right now, or we're talking about
We
a variance.
only require a fence.
Right,
Somebody
so-
could have both.
But we don't require it.
we
He
don't
represented
require
to
it.
everyone that
Correct.
Genoa Township requires multiple layers of protection. I'm not aware of that. If they are, please inform me. The only question I did have, though, and I'm not sure that this is apples to apples, but you said your insurance company approved this cover. And I'm curious, I don't want to know numbers, but is the rate the same as it would have been for the fence? I'm sure you had it approved for the fence. Are they saying, sure, we'll approve it, but we're going to charge you more? As long as they're comparable rates, then I'm fine with that.
Yeah,
Again, I
comparison, but
defer to
do
the
have
insurance
statement
company.
on here
Yeah,
to
we
show that
included
we
our
were
statement.
improved.
Statement on here.
Right, we just wanted to, we pretty much finished that we could swim, like the November timeframe, which is when this policy is from. And so as soon as possible, fence or no fence, we just wanted to have insurance, right? And when they approved it without
That's what kind of started.
having the fence, that's what started the conversation. Oh, if our insurance approved us, they must think it's safe. So it does, could we?
Yeah, they approved it. We didn't go back and forth on it.
Did they approve it with the cover or
They approved
With
it
the
without
cover,
a fence?
With the cover.
without a fence. They approved it with the cover.
With the cover.
Without a fence.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, so the cover was taken, so again, I'm going to defer to them. I'm assuming that they know what they're doing, and it must meet their standards if they're willing to accept it.
Multiple things took place. The change in the gradient, so they were able to level the pool, so it matches our yard. So the grade was, there wasn't a wall. They thought at one point they were gonna have a retaining wall. We would have required a fence. That changed. And then when they approved us just with the auto cover without a fence, that's when we wanted to start the process of maybe we could not have a fence with this. And it would, and Berkshire, not to take anything away, I mean, we love Genoa. It's not, we're trying to compare one to the other, but right across the street from us, they don't have to have a fence either, and in the same neighborhood. So when we discuss this, it's like technically, we would have neighbors, if they have a pool, they wouldn't have to require to have a fence at all. So, yeah, that's kind of what led us down this path. And that we're novice with our zoning commission, or zoning committee. We respect a lot what you do, we just,
And
we
we
didn't know much about it.
understand too, different
Well,
neighborhoods.
Many people that come here are just like you, so you're not atypical at all.
Yeah,
So,
but we're learning a lot. And honestly, I mean, this is kind of exciting. We learned a lot tonight, so you guys did a great job, and it was a lot of fun. So,
We
I mean,
hope to
that's-
never see you again.
No, I honestly have learned a ton through this whole process, so.
And I think in our case, a variance is appropriate. To state it for all neighborhoods with smaller lots, we've been to neighbors where they're slapping hands with their neighbors, and I almost would want the fence in that case.
Correct.
And probably the auto cover. But knowing that we have the tree line that borders, we have the adequate space, we can't really see our neighbors.
Not
It's
even
hidden.
Tree line,
It-
it's a thorn-based brush, like to go through.
You don't
it.
wanna go through it, right.
Yeah, nobody wants to go through that. So, yeah, and again, to the committee, we take safety at the highest. I know people have their opinions, and that's wonderful. But at no chance are we trying to take safety out of this process, so.
Thank you for
okay,
your time.
anybody else? Paul? No? Okay. Okay. Looking for a motion from somebody, anybody?
You want to do Duncan versus Middlefield also?
Duncan versus Middlefield.
Oh,
Yeah, we have to do
Going.
business with them.
Sorry, I'm new here, I forgot.
12 years, huh?
Yeah, you'd never know it.
Yeah, we got out of it on the last one, so.
You want me to do it?
You do it.
All right.
I got it.
I'm on the right one here. The board, let me make sure I'm on the right one.
That's always the trick.
Yes, okay. The board reviewed section 307.06 of the zoning resolution, reflecting Duncan versus Middlefield, as it pertains to the area variance requested from section 1709.01C to allow for a pool without the required fence in a rural residential or RR zoning district as follows. The excuse me, the property in question would yield a reasonable return, and there can be beneficial use of the property without the variance. You could put a fence in, okay? So for those reasons, you could get a reasonable return and beneficial use. B, the variance, I would argue, is substantial. We're not looking at percentages here. We're looking at a fence versus an auto pool cover. So it is substantial. The third one, the essential character of the neighborhood would not be substantially altered, and the adjoining properties would not suffer a substantial detriment as a result of the variance. First of all, did you say the neighbor just across the street could have the auto covers if they so choose? Without a fence, yeah, okay. The variance would not adversely affect the delivery of governmental services. Susan, we've checked with fire maintenance and police, right? And they had no adverse comments. The property owner did purchase the property with knowledge of the zoning restriction. Again, we believe everyone has constructive knowledge of that information. After the property owner's predicament cannot be feasibly obviated through a method other than the variance. Yes, you could put the fence in, but again, the auto cover has what would appear to be the same level or a higher level of safety in that you can walk on it. It's not your typical pool cover that you're just going to put over to keep the leaves out. The spirit and intent behind the zoning requirement would be observed, and substantial justice would be done by granting the variance. Once again, it's a safe feature for the pool, and it's just an alternative to a fence. Board discussed a potential motion finding effect. You want me to go ahead with the motion?
Well, don't everybody at once.
All right, I'm moving to
Don't fight over
incorporate.
it now.
I'm moving to incorporate exhibits A through, don't we have more than D? We've got.
No, I think
We've got a
it's,
photo and.
it's E. A through E.
A through E, okay.
Yeah, because
He
this
made
is
it in.
just a color rendition of the black and white that's in there.
Okay, okay. Okay,
I
so,
had actually F, or is that what you're asking? I had A through F?
That's your condition.
oh, that's
Oh,
the
yeah,
application,
This is-
okay. Okay, so, A through F, as well as the board's findings pertaining to the review of section 307.06 of the Genoa Township zoning resolution into evidence and to approve the requested variance from section 1709.01C of the Genoa Township zoning resolution for BZA case number 2024-08. Application received May 8, 2024, to allow for a pool without the required pool fence on property known as Lot 6417 in Sage Creek, 2395 Sweet Clover Lane, Galena, Ohio, zoned residential, rural residential, RR. Should this not say, and for a substitute auto cover in lieu of the fence?
So the
I mean,
zoning resolution just says it requires a fence.
Can make a condition that they have to maintain the automatic pool cover.
So you'd rather have that as a
Well,
condition?
we're at the part of conditioning, can I, Mark, I want to put in there that we still haven't satisfied, I want part of one of the conditions to be that they demonstrate to staff that it complied with the Delaware County. I know it's just a matter of getting the paperwork. I don't know if we put a time frame on it, but that's got to be part of the condition.
Okay, that's a very good point. So as far as the motion goes, it's just without the required pool fence on property at 6417 Sage Creek, 2395 Sweet Clover Lane, Galena, Ohio, zoned rural residential RR. This motion is based upon the following findings of fact pursuant to section 307.04 of the Genoa Township zoning resolution. One, that such variance or modification will not be contrary to the public interest because these pool covers have been installed elsewhere. They, from an insurance standpoint, meet a standard at least equal to that of having a fence installed. Number two, that owing to special conditions, a literal enforcement of this zoning resolution result in an unnecessary hardship because you'll be required to put the fence in, and one of your major objectives here is to avoid a fence thus being a hardship. Number three, that the approval of such variance or modification thereof is consistent with the spirit of the zoning resolution, and substantial justice shall be done thereby. Again, you have an aesthetically pleasing alternative to a fence with at least equal safety standards. Approval of the subject variance is subject to the owner's agreement to the following conditions. Number one, well, let's start here. Number one, that you maintain the auto pool cover throughout the year and throughout the entire time that you own and occupy the home.
Within the standards that are required. Not just maintain it, but to maintain it to the standards that are required.
Okay, maintain the standards that are required, and two, that you satisfy the Genoa Township staff that it is what is it?
Delaware County compliant.
Delaware County compliant. Okay. Now, should they provide something in writing to the township?
Yes.
Okay, so you'll provide some type of a written report or whatever? Okay, yeah, provide the report by 30 days, 45, 60 days? How? What?
30 days.
Hey, you're making your motion.
Okay, all right, then we'll say
30 days.
on or before,
As long as Delaware can respond.
Yeah, just give them
Yeah.
30 days.
okay, within 30 days, the approval of your application. And other conditions are that all required permits, zoning or otherwise, be obtained. Two, pursuant to section 307.11 of the Genoa Township zoning resolution, the approved variance shall lapse, expire, or be null and void ab initio if required zoning permits are not obtained within 1 year of this motion of approval. Number three, extensions to this variance may be requested pursuant to sections 307.11A and B of the Genoa Township zoning resolution as may be amended. Four, the Board of Zoning Appeals does grant the Genoa Township zoning inspector authority to extend this variance at their discretion, subject to the deadlines established within section 307.11A of the Genoa Township zoning resolution as may be amended.
Second.
Okay, second by Mr. DeRose. Any further discussion?
Call the question?
I guess we'll call a vote. Mr. DeRose?
Yes.
Mr. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. Hanson?
No.
Ms. Yu?
Yes.
Chair votes no. But the motion carries. No offense. And at this time, the hearing is concluded at 9:43. Okay.
Thank you.
Sure. What time can I drop the kids off to? Oh, I'm gonna.
You go first.
Yeah, let's take it.
Yeah, you go first.
No, that's not.
Halloween party coming up.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. You got it, oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's fine.
Are we ready to go? Yes. Okay. Oh, sorry, Paul. Okay, call the meeting back to order at 9:50, and we'll have our final application tonight. And let me read the legal notice into the record, and then we'll have get everyone sworn in. Timothy and Suzanne Lehman requesting approval of a conditional use to allow the construction of an accessory dwelling at 6259 Worthington Road, Westerville, Ohio, 43082, parcel number 317-322-03-004-003. Currently zoned suburban residential, SR, and this is BZA case 2024-09. And those that wish to appear and speak on this matter, please stand and raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you, Mr. Benson. Okay. The legal notice for this hearing was printed and published on June 15th, 2024 in the Delaware Gazette and posted at the Genoa Township Hall on June 11th, 2024. An attempt to mail notice of the hearing to property owners contiguous to and across the street from the subject property was also made. The following were marked Exhibits A through D: the legal notice, the sign-in sheet, the application, and the staff report dated June 21st, 2024. And we will start with Susan with the staff report.
Thank you, Mark. This application is for 6259 Worthington Road, Westerville, Ohio, 43082. It is in a suburban residential zoning district, and it's a 1.49 acre parcel according to the Delaware County auditor's site. According to Delaware County Auditor's website, the residence on this subject property was built in 1959. We were not able to locate a zoning permit in our records, but this is understandable given the age of the dwelling. Zoning permit W3642 was issued for construction of an accessory building, the detached garage, in November of 1986. According to Delaware County Recorder's site, the Lehmans purchased the subject property previously part of a 5.72 acre parcel in 2013. In September of 2018, zoning permit 201822 was issued for the subdivision of the 5.72 acre parcel into 3 lots. One lot was 3.198 acres. The second lot, which is the subject parcel, is 1.49 acres, and the third lot is 1.15 acres. On May 28th, the conditional use application was submitted for approval of an accessory dwelling. An accessory dwelling is permitted as a conditional use in the suburban residential zoning district under section 804.03 in accordance with section 1713. An accessory dwelling is defined in Article 4 of the Genoa Township zoning resolution as an accessory use consisting of a single-family dwelling that comprises some or all portions of an accessory building. So the applicant in their application went through and they addressed all of the items listed in section 1713. You want me to go through all of this? So I know the application in some places, they're asking for a 40-foot by 60-foot building, and then the accessory dwelling portion is supposed to comprise 1,432 feet of that accessory building.
Is that on the ground floor or upstairs? Because it looks like it says upstairs in the response to one of
And
the
the applicant
questions.
can address that, but I do believe, yes, that's
Okay.
what it appears to in the application.
Gotcha.
So the applicant did respond to each one of the conditions and it appears that they're compliant with each item. We did send the copy of the conditional use application to the Genoa Township Police Fire and Maintenance Department. The fire marshal did not have any comments or concerns. We did not receive responses from the other two departments. And to date, I'm not aware of any one calling in and asking any inquiries for this application.
Okay. Any questions for staff? Anyone? No? Let's hear from the applicant. And by the way, this is the longest meeting that I've ever been in 12 years, and I appreciate your patience.
The last one we had lasted almost as long.
Yeah.
It was the first hearing on the
Storage units.
storage units.
Oh, yeah, well, nah, man, yeah, well. Okay, and introduce yourselves, please.
I'm Tim Lehman. I live at 6225 Worthington Road, and I also own 6259 Worthington Road.
Oh, okay. And you, sir, are there?
Andrew Lehman, son, 6259 Worthington Road.
All right, so tell us about your application.
So the plan is to actually tear down the existing accessory building that's there in the back.
We have a picture of it there.
Yep. So, like I said, the property has been well taken care of and updated since 2014. That's the last remaining structure that was on the lot that's starting to get a little bit run down. So the plan is to replace it. It's also going to blend in with the rest of the property as far as the new builds and stuff go as well. It'll definitely have a little bit more appeal, I think, than some of the accessory barns that are surrounding the outside perimeter of the property too. From the road front, I'm not sure if we provided a picture with you guys, but it's basically gonna look like a two-car garage from the front that would have the dwelling above it, that only a portion of it.
I spoke to the neighbors across the street indicating what we wanted to do. And they said, I said, we wanted to replace the barn. They said, you have a barn?
Yeah, because it's downhill.
It sits down below, so
Oh, I see.
it's hardly visible from anyone,
So the barn is that white roof on the lower right there, is that it?
Correct.
Right.
Okay.
It
Okay,
sits-
and then your garage, your actual garage is that? Okay.
Yeah, and there's one attached to the ranch as well.
Okay, so you've got a detached garage, then you got a detached garage, and then you've got the barn.
Correct, and that's how it was when it was purchased. And
Sure.
then the property from 6225 and 6283 is all family owned that actually surrounds that whole 6259 property from the back to the sides.
Oh,
Yeah, the pool you see.
Yeah, you can kind of see now,
Yeah,
in that's all.
That property there at the bottom where you see the blue pool.
yeah.
That's my other son,
Oh,
lives there.
boy, they just don't want to leave home, huh?
Well, we're planning on keeping the family. I mean, it's gonna be family property, so.
It's late, I'm sorry, I'll let you guys go.
And then all the way to the tip of the triangle, there behind all those trees, is
That's my.
That's part of the 6225
Got
to
it.
the house on the far right.
Okay,
the top.
thank you.
It was one of those things, trying to figure out how to split this property up, and all kinds of issues came up with. The biggest issue was sewer.
Sure.
And so we got that remedied, and then at that, we just, let's kind of square it up and make the lots, and we'll leave what's over for my wife and I.
Okay,
But that barn has seen better days. I brought the pictures up with the rusted roof.
you guys are gonna constructed a new accessory building, and you're gonna have storage in the bottom and a living space.
It's
in
gonna, yeah, the
front?
whole bottom floor is gonna be, it will be garage or open areas. So, it's gonna be elongated too, going front to back. So it's
Okay.
not gonna be, it's not 60 wide, it's gonna be 60
Right, oh,
deep.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
And also allow him to put his boat into it. The door now in the front of the barn is too low. The ceiling in the barn is too low, so we can put a larger door on one side. That would allow us on the other side then to put bathrooms and stuff upstairs for family when they come to visit or
Oh,
something.
so it's not for commercial purposes? it's
No,
just
no,
for
no, not at all.
family?
It's
No, I
just-
mean, we've got equipment that we use around the property, so tractors and zero turns and things of that sort, and trailers and the boat, that would all be in that building.
I see,
Mhm.
okay. So it's all for private use, and you're just
Yep.
basically replacing the one that's there with a better one?
Yep.
Right.
Much more money.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
I think we've improved the whole property over there over what it started with, so.
Yeah, the only thing that, and I'm a little, slightly confused, is that the actual home is 14, no, not 1,400 square feet.
2192.
2192 plus the porch.
I'm sorry.
2192.
Oh, okay, 2192, because, all right.
Right.
I missed that. I thought I saw that it was actually smaller than that. Oh, 2192. Does that 2192 include the garage, or no? Is that just the living space?
Living, it should be the living space, because the upstairs and downstairs both finished in that property.
Oh, the main floor and then the basement is finished? Yeah,
Right.
okay.
Yeah, and it's all.
Oh, okay. How large is the footprint? Go ahead.
I think on the auditor's site, it said it was like 1432 on the first floor, and then it
And then
had
the basement's finished
1342
with,
on
okay.
the lower level.
Because in my professional life, I look at it a little bit differently than that, so.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Let's get this out of the way. Any questions for the applicant? No.
So do we need to know how much is living space? Or
No,
is
I
it just okay that it satisfies
My
this?
major concern
Okay.
with that was that we were gonna build an accessory living space that was larger than the
Right, we're
the
good with,
dwelling that was on the property.
got it.
Okay, and we don't have any coverage issues or anything on that, do we, Susan?
I didn't check those.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at it, I can't imagine that that's 35.
But
over
suburban
35%.
residential, so they can cover
Oh, that's right, okay. I'm thinking-
20% with buildings and 35%
Yeah, I'm
with
sure.
impervious surfaces.
I'm with you.
so.
Okay, any members of the public wish to comment on this application? Sir, come on up, introduce yourself.
Good evening. My name is John Pollock, and I live at 6329 Worthington Road, just south of the property in question. Been a resident here in Genoa Township for 25 years. And 4 years ago, when the folks here to my right purchased the property and there was a lot split approved, there was the dwelling that was built at 6283. And as a result of that dwelling, there was an elevation change of about 5 to 7 feet. The elevation was raised up. Since that time, I have incurred incessant flooding inside my house. It's cost me thousands of dollars in losses. A third of my acre at the back of the property I haven't mowed it yet this year. I can't walk through it, I can't drive the tractor through it because of the elevation change. That's water over the dam, no pun intended. This area where they're contemplating putting the building is in fact another low area. My property still extends very close to that area where the existing building is going to be. My concerns are with regard to elevation changes and runoff and how that will further impact my property. At the moment, the grass behind my building is as tall as this podium. I have not yet cut it this year. Last year, it was July 15th when I was able to cut it for the first time. Thousands of dollars of damage with interior flooding insurance claims had had drainage pipes put in the basement around the perimeter of the wall.
Now, is that flooding as a result of their property?
The property being built next to me, and this is also a low area, and I only anticipate this also to be an elevation change, which is going to compound the water issues that I've had. I had 21 years there with history of really wet springs, really wet summers, really dry springs, 21-year history. Never did I have the issues that I've had since the build 4 years ago. So my opposition is not to the building. The building is certainly aged, and I think a new building would be an improvement. But I can't handle any more water. I can't take on any more water. There has to be some kind of stipulation put into this to channel it, French drain, something other than what I've got right now. I've got part of my outbuilding, which is adjacent to where this is. The floor is sinking because of all the water. I've been there, that building's been there since the 60s, and the floor has never moved until the last 4 years. So the damages continue, the expenses continue, and like I said, I'm not opposed to the building, but I can't deal with any more water. It's cost me thousands, and it continues to.
Can you zoom out, Paul? Or, yeah, there you go. And can you show us where your property is, please?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you're asking. That's fine.
This area here is completely flooded back through here, and all on the property here. The elevation for this property that was built was raised up at certain points almost 7 feet.
Okay.
And so when it rains really hard, like we've had a wet spring, I've got videos on my phone, it's a waterfall to my property, and the water reaches my home, which is right here.
Okay.
And it comes in the basement. And for 21 years, it never happened. I trusted the process 4 years ago when the lot split and all that. I thought surely there won't be anything that happens that's going to negatively impact me. And that has not been the case. That's why I'm here tonight. I can't take any more water. Not opposed to the building. I think that would be an improvement. But there's got to be something done with regard to the runoff and the elevation, because I know there's going to be an elevation change, and I just can't deal with any more water. That's
Do
my.
you guys contemplate an elevation change with your?
We hadn't discussed it, and then.
I don't think, it'll probably be at the same height.
Yeah.
The floor as it exists today. There's no reason to change it any higher.
Okay.
And I know too, is if I'm able to address that, you know,
Yes,
we,
please.
you know, when this property was done, I mean, there was almost, what, $20,000 that was spent maybe plus on having the whole front of the road from 6225 to 6283, the ditch reconstructed per code that we were told to do to assist with any kind of water. And at the time, before that house was built, that was a floodplain itself when we had the property, because I know I wouldn't be able to mow it till sometime usually towards May, because it was always wet. So, and we still have that same issue as far as in the back too, in the woods, when it's early in the spring, we've stuck the tractor and everything else back there. It's always been kind of a lower laying area.
Delaware County made me recontour the whole front to make it, I thought it was a lot better before. I figured the car would roll before they made my house. But they made me change the ditch so they can now run through. But that was all mandated by Delaware County to make me put that ditch in the way it is. Before, there was never any water really there because it was, you know, but they made me put that in.
Okay. Anyone else? No? Okay. All right, somebody want to go through Duncan versus Middlefield? I know one of you are dying to do it.
Well, no, it's the conditional use stuff,
Oh, that's right.
303.
I forgot.
Section 804.03.
Jump in at will. Okay. The only thing I will say in response to the public comment is you guys may want to get with him and see if you can resolve it. I don't know, it's not something that we do here.
Sure.
But just as a comment of one neighbor, of a 25-year neighbor to another
I understand, I
25-year
mean,
neighbor.
it
So-
was, Delaware County made me do it.
I-
I could save my money a bit.
Yeah. Doesn't have a lot to do with your application, so we'll just
Right.
move right on.
Noted.
So, there you go. Thank you. Okay, you got it? Oh, okay, I guess we don't really, I guess we just need to go into discussion at this point, huh?
And I'm trying to remember these.
Oh, it's been so long since we've done a conditional use.
So you have to go through
gotta
each
go
one
through
and
each
make
one of
sure
these
that they've
here.
satisfied
3.01
each one of the
through, yeah,
conditions.
303, yeah, right. So. You want to do that? Here, I'll start it and then you can hop in when you're ready. The use is so designated, located, and proposed to be operated so that the public health, safety, welfare, and convenience will be protected. And I think that's generally yes.
So-
Because you're not really changing the use of the property per se or the building per se.
But that could be where we would, I mean, can we put any conditions on, or do we have to put them in the motion? Because
Well,
this could be where
We can
we're,
get down to 303.
yeah, I mean, we're replacing an
Yeah,
existing
you can
building and say that it
Do it
has
a
to
couple
maintain.
ways. I would probably do it in the motion.
Okay.
Because this is just the analysis piece, and I think there's items on both, like 3 or 3.02, use will not result in the destruction, loss, or danger of natural, scenic, or historic features of major importance, and I think that is a true statement. The use will be designated, constructed, operated, and maintained so that it will not cause substantial injury to the value of the property in the area of the neighborhood where it is to be located. And that, I think that's the one
That's the
with
one
the
that-
drainage. The thing is that I don't know if we have substantial evidence that would support that water flow is from this property, the subject property, as opposed to one that is next door to it.
The question I have on that, Mr. Chair, is that we don't know about the elevation, and elevation,
Right.
obviously, I think there was a change, and subject to the change, there's been an
Right.
effect of water. But my question is that we're not going to approve the plans with respect to elevation, meaning either they meet the conditional
Right.
use for the square footage, or they don't.
Beyond the scope of this.
That's what the point of where I
Yes.
was asking is
Right.
that what is, I'm not sure that this
We
is the
don't
place for.
regulate that.
Right, yeah, we don't, this isn't the point or the area to get relief from that.
I would
So-
agree, because my understanding is that in general terms, that when you construct on a lot, that it cannot, that the water flow can't be changed, essentially, that certain amount on, certain amount off,
Can I
you
make-
build, and then a certain amount off.
Yeah,
Excuse
one
me, can I make
one
a-
second, I'll put on that.
Did you have a comment?
Yeah, go ahead.
I think the thing that is, if anything, we may lessen the water flow, because when we put this new building up, we will have gutters on it. The gutters will run into drainage,
Okay.
which will take it back to a creek.
Out to the-
So in essence, we're probably lessening the amount of water that would be back there anyway.
Yeah, no, that was, my thing is, I want to make sure the record's, because I don't know that we're the place to get relief from it.
My opinion is that we are not.
Yeah.
And I think staff would agree with me, we probably are not in that position to dictate drainage and.
And that'd be more in terms of what the building permits and
Yeah.
that, correct?
Yeah,
So-
I would agree.
Delaware County
Is that
engineer.
correct, Susan?
Zoning doesn't look at the drainage, that's all through, like Paul said, it's all Delaware County
Right.
Engineer's
Delaware County
Office.
Soil, water, yeah.
I just want to make sure the record's clear that I don't think
Sure.
we can consider that here for this application, but that the remedy is elsewhere if the public has an issue.
Okay, and the use shall be compatible with adjoining development and the proposed character of the zoning district where it's located, and I think it would. I think it would actually improve it. The use will be served adequately by essential public facilities and services such as highways, streets, police, fire, drainage structures, refuse disposal, water, sewers, excuse me, schools, are that the persons, agencies responsible for establishment of the proposed use will be able to provide any such services adequately. And I think we had no comment from the fire department, maintenance, or police. I don't see that, I think the answer to that issue is yes. The use will not create excessive additional requirements at public cost for public facilities and services and will not be detrimental to the economic welfare of the community. Public facilities and services include, but are not limited to, fire, police, protection, other emergency services, roadways, intersections, traffic lights, and safety, and storm sewers. And I think that's generally a correct statement. Adequate landscaping and screening are provided as required. And it looks to me like you're adequately screened there. It's wooded behind and seems appropriate. Pardon?
It's not requirement in Article 20.
Okay, it says it is here.
It's as required.
Adequate, right, adequate, it's all it asks. Adequate off-street parking is provided, and I think it is. Get a long driveway, detached garage to go with the attached garage. The use conforms to all applicable regulations governing the district which it's located, and I think that's the pivotal point you were making, Bob, is that it's gonna have to pass county and township requirements regardless of whether we grant the use permit or not.
Right, that's where the runoff challenge should be addressed.
The use is compatible with the standards, objectives, and policies of Genoa Township, and I think it is. The use will not involve uses, activities, processes, materials, equipment, and conditions of operation that will be detrimental to any person's property or general welfare by reason of excessive production of traffic noise, smoke, fumes, glare, odors, or vibrations. And this is going to be for personal use, so it's not for a commercial endeavor. You've testified that it will not do that, so
You're gonna
I
have
think
an
that's adequately
accessory
addressed.
dwelling, you probably don't
Pardon?
wanna have smoke and fumes.
Yeah, smoke, fumes, glare, odors, vibrations. Okay. Is this, okay, accessory dwelling shall only be permitted in zoning districts in which they've been expressly authorized within the resolution. Conditional use approval shall be required unless otherwise specified. Holy mackerel. Okay, so here's the finding of fact, is that accessory dwelling shall be established on the lots that are 1 acre or greater in size, which it is. The number of accessory dwellings containing an accessory dwelling shall be limited to 1. Now the garage is considered an accessory, is that correct, Susan?
It's an accessory building,
Right.
It's not a
Oh,
dwelling.
you can only have one
Well,
accessory
oh, right,
dwelling.
dwelling, okay, thank you.
It's a dwelling.
So they can have 2 accessory
One dwelling,
buildings.
one accessory building.
Well, they're having an accessory dwelling within their accessory building, so this lot code permits 2 accessory buildings.
Gotcha.
So they would be compliant.
Only 1 accessory dwelling shall be permitted within an accessory building. An accessory dwelling may, and it is, may
Proposing one.
comprise up to 100% of an accessory building. It will not. The floor area of an accessory dwelling cannot exceed the floor area of the principal dwelling it is accessory to. And if we include the finished basement, it does not. But if you use just the footprint, it does.
So do you know how much square footage you're proposing for the principal dwelling? Because this, I mean, the application says the principal dwelling has 1,432 square feet of finished floor area, so that's the first floor.
No, I think it refers to the existing dwelling, doesn't it?
The principal dwelling, yes.
Right.
Says it's 1,432
That's
square
what the
feet.
county auditor says.
Correct. That's what
Okay.
their application also indicates.
Okay.
So I guess the question is, how much is the accessory dwelling going to be?
I think we just determined it was 1,432.
So a portion, what happens is basically because we're gonna put a taller garage in it.
Yeah.
The whole top of the accessory building is not gonna be living quarters,
Right.
because it has to be a certain
Right,
height.
that's what you said.
And to fit with your guys' code, I can't build it taller than it needs to be. So what we were trying to configure is, okay, if basically 12 by 60 would be the area where the boat would go, that whole square footage
You're
would
not
take
gonna
up the
have
roof
this
line
wall.
too. So it's whatever's left over, is what it's
So your
equating to.
math-
So it was somewhere around 14 to 16, somewhere in that area. I didn't know, we were trying to keep it
Yeah,
exact.
and I think your application said 1432, if I'm not
And that's
mistaken.
kinda what we were
That's probably
calculating.
where you're gonna
I
get
don't,
limited to.
Okay.
I don't know that their application specifically states it. So they responded to all of these questions.
Oh, maybe that's what I said.
So it says, the principal dwelling is a ranch home with an attached garage. And then it says the principal dwelling has 1,432 square feet of finished floor area. And they're saying that that total exceeds the area of the accessory building, so,
The first page of the application says a guest living quarters in a portion of the second floor with less than 1,432 square feet. So they're not calling it out exactly, but they're saying it's going to
And
be
that's
less.
fine, but we probably need to limit that to 1,432 feet in the accessory dwelling.
so you need to state that in your motion that it
Right.
has to be less than.
Less than 1432 square feet.
Correct.
You guys are okay with that, I assume?
I think we could probably make it work.
Okay. Okay, accessory buildings containing an accessory dwelling shall comply with all provisions established in 1609, section 1609, as well as the other standards applicable to the zoning district in which it's located. In instances of conflict, the provisions within this section shall prevail. So basically, you guys are gonna have to comply with the rest of the zoning code, which I think it sounds like you're already aware of. Okay, discussion. And then I'll entertain a motion. Okay, well, in that case, I'll wake you guys up. I'm gonna move to incorporate exhibits A through E, I think it is. D, okay. As well as the board's findings pertaining to the review of section 303 and sections 1713.01, 1713.07 of the Genoa zoning resolution into evidence and to approve the subject conditional use request in accordance with section 303 of the Genoa Township zoning resolution for BZA case 2024-09, application received May 28, 2024, and thus allow for an accessory dwelling on property at 6259 Worthington Road, Westerville, Ohio, 43082, zone suburban residential, based on the aforementioned findings, in which that the proposal complies with all requirements of section 303 of the Genoa Township zoning resolution as documented during the hearing. The proposal complies with all requirements of 1713.01 and through 1713.07 of the Genoa Township zoning resolution as documented during the hearing. This motion only authorizes the issuance of a conditional use permit. Such approval is subject to the following: all required permits, zoning, and otherwise be obtained, and compliance, of course. that goes along with that. Pursuant to section 305 of the Genoa Township zoning resolution, the conditional use permit shall expire if for any reason the conditional use shall cease more than 6 months or is not begun within 12 months. That means if you guys decide not to build the accessory, the living space, you're probably gonna lose the conditional use.
Okay.
After a period of time, depending on when that happens. Is there anything we wanted to add to that motion? Are we good? Okay, that'll be the motion.
What were we talking about? Yeah.
Yeah.
I just lost it.
We were gonna add for the square footage that it.
Yeah, that
Oh,
it
right.
must,
Yeah.
square footage of the living space must be less than 1,432 square feet.
Right, meet or be less than the square foot, the above-ground square footage of the primary dwelling.
But for clarity, you probably want us to call it out, right? So 1,432 square feet.
Which is understood to be 1,432 feet. Okay, that's the motion. Anybody want to second that?
I'll second.
Thank you, Paul. Discussion? Anybody?
Nope, call
Call the question? All right, Mr. Christian,
Yes.
Mr. DeRose,
it. Yes.
Mr. Hanson,
Yes.
Ms. Yu.
Yes.
Chair votes yes, motion carries.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. And again, thanks for your patience tonight. I know it was a long meeting.
Well, you approved it, so that was all
Well,
right.
there you go. I guess it was worth the wait, huh?
Right.
Okay, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Oh, I will second all over that.
It's a little late for me, or a little early for me, but, and a
I got a
second?
flight tomorrow morning.
Second.
Oh, Teresa seconds, and, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned at 10:28.